everyone. How are you all doing? Come on in, sit on down. Welcome to another episode of the Truth Therapy Sessions, episode 85. My, how the time flies. Let me just switch the camera over here quickly. There we go. How are we all doing, everyone? Sorry I'm running late as per usual. I just had a quick errand I needed to run. Getting some snacks for the wife, you know how it is, and just getting some things set up here as well. I'm still waiting for my guest Tony from God Rules channel to join me on my Zoom call as well. I sent him the link. I sent him a quick message now, letting him know I'm ready to go whenever he is. But yeah, until then, I'm going to just talk my way through this show like I usually do. I did say he can hop on whenever he's available. I know it's Sunday afternoon for himself, and it's obviously late in the evening for me, so it's probably family time. It's probably eating lunch, dinner or something, as you call it over. I don't know what you call it. We call it tea here in the UK, but you're probably eating your late afternoon meal, I assume, on a Sunday. So I'll forgive him if he's not going to turn up anytime soon. But he will be joining us, and we'll be getting into some interesting things today. Because I have my Telegram group, and I always get lots of people coming in telling me all sorts of things throughout the week. And one thing that kept cropping up, and I did watch Tony's video on this as well, is that China's population has suddenly just plummeted. New information's coming out that it's actually not at all what they've been telling us, not even close. And that just sparked in my own mind many connections just firing off all over the place, you know. And I just wanted to kind of reel them off today and just go through a few things. And to be honest, a lot of this for me is going to be new for myself. Like, I've been swimming in Little Season for so long, and the Nephilim clown stuff, I've kind of fallen behind on researching other things, you know. So this is my catch-up session, because a lot of this might be old news to some of you, but for me, this is relatively new information. I've always caught the gist of this information and said, okay, that's happening, fair enough, logged. But I've not looked into this kind of stuff yet. So we're going to be going through the Deagle reports, the odd stuff about plummeting numbers in 2025 of worldwide national populations as predicted by this ominous report from 2014, and maybe we can talk about things that have happened since it was released in 2020, which are quite interesting to say the least, that have kind of corroborated the agenda behind perhaps this psyop of a report, we'll call it in some way. But yeah, we're going to get into it. And it's going to be pretty dark, I think. Just a disclaimer now, if you have a depressed or upset or some kind of, lowly disposition right now and just can't handle anymore, this probably is not going to be the episode for you. Just like I'll call it a trigger warning, shall we? But we're going to be getting into some pretty dark stuff. Pretty all-encompassing, depressing stuff, okay? Just gonna let you know that now. And you know me, I'm gonna try and stay lighthearted, but when you're talking about these type of topics, yeah, it's tough. Even I'm probably gonna find it very difficult to keep this one fun, shall we say. So yeah, things are gonna get dark. Let's quickly check over here, and I'll jump into the chat in a minute and see how you guys are doing as well. I'm just gonna quickly message Tony now. There we go. That's done. So we'll see whenever he turns up, he'll turn up. That's fine. But I'm just going to hop into the chat, see who we got, see who we have joining us. I'm sure we have our regular faces as per usual. We have Mad Pax in the chat. Biblically Base is in the house. Hello, Nicolette. We've got Stephen. We've got Susie. We've got Trish. We have Wendy, the moderator extraordinaire, with us as well. We have Joe. My wife's here. We've got Peter Hamlet. We've got Corey. We've got Cybergun01. That's a new one. You're a new face. What have you asked me here? Interesting that Lucifer isn't an actual entity, but a purposeful mistranslation of a word that meant to cry out, howl, wail, etc. Seems as always lie upon lie, deception upon deception. Okay, fair enough. I live in Santa Rosa, CA. I see Lucifer's agenda all around me. For example, demon within that particular time of the month, which I'm probably not allowed to legally say. Unless I want to get everything taken away. Is China or India the most populous country in the world now? Well, who knows? I bet that we've had numbers pumped up all over the place, and I've had some. I've heard a few things over the past few days that made me think twice about population numbers. Which again we'll get into. We'll get into that as time goes on. Snacks for the wife, priorities, man, priorities. I know what I say. That it's for me as well. You know, I just quickly had a quick snack before we began to just to keep the sugar levels high and the energy levels high enough to do this. Because, like I said, it's late for me. It's late. Apologies if I've been a bit intense recently. I've had a lot going on, says Brooke. It's okay, Brooke. I forgive you, though I don't really know what you're talking about, to be honest, or who you're talking to, but I forgive you either way. I think the Black Castle was the Mothers of Darkness castle, okay? Yeah, so everyone's having their own thing. Doing great. How are you, Paul, says Arden. I'm well. I'm doing quite well. I cannot complain. I will say it's very hot in this office, so I'm going to quickly just switch on a desk fan. And that should take the edge off for me, hopefully. And I've done enough jigging with the settings that it shouldn't affect the audio in any way at all. Let me know if it does. And also, let me know when the guest does come, if there's any huge issue with volume levels, because this is always a problem that comes up with these type of off-the-cuff live sessions with guests. They could have a really hot mic, and I wouldn't have a clue unless you tell me. Okay? And I can do everything I can to mess with the things here to make so that we're peaking at similar levels, but every microphone's different. I need you to help me. Okay, so send me a lot of messages saying, Paul sorted out this terrible, and I'll do what I can as quick as I can as soon as I see the message, okay? Hopefully I should get it right, though. But yeah, let's go. Let's this. Did you guys like the last Q&A session I did? Because I think, what did I cover in that one? Because I'm pretty sure I covered some things which I don't think I'm quite done with yet, to be honest. It was a lot about AI, wasn't it? And the AI friend situation and the rise of AI technology and robotics. And I think the responses to that were quite good, to be honest. And it seems like people did enjoy that more of a eclectic presentation style, shall we say, than my previous work. But I was looking back at it, and yeah, I think people did enjoy that show. It was about AI friends, and things are getting weird, man. Like, things are getting so strange in the AI tech world and what the products they are selling to us. And this idea that, you know, they are kind of gaming a particular set of, like, understandings about how the human mind works with inanimate objects and technology from the 60s to convince us that AI really is a friend and conscious and cares about us by making it fake that it has these things in a way. And someone made a great comment about the Chinese box experiment. I think that's what it was called. Let me just quickly Google it. Chinese box experiment. And the Chinese room, sorry, that's it. And I think this might be actually worth just quickly going over as a tag on to the previous one, because I didn't talk about this concept, but I think it definitely relates to the issue we have going on today. And I'll share the screen with you while I'm doing this. So here we have this Chinese room idea. And I'll just read it out. The Chinese room argument holds that a computer executing a program cannot have a mind, understanding, or consciousness, regardless of how intelligently or human-like the program may make the computer behave. The argument was presented in a 1980 paper by philosopher John Searle entitled Minds, Brains, and Programs, and published in the Journal of Behavioral and Brains Sciences. Before Searle, similar arguments have been presented by figures including Gottfried Wilhelm and Anatoly Dneprov, Lawrence Davis, and Ned Block. Searle's version has been widely discussed in years since. The centerpiece of Searle's argument is a thought experiment known as the Chinese room. And I just got a big message there, which I think I may have to... Nope, different message. Never mind. In the thought experiment, Searle imagines a person who does not understand Chinese isolated in a room with a book containing detailed instructions for manipulating Chinese symbols. When Chinese text is passed into the room, the person follows the book's instructions to produce Chinese symbols that, to fluent Chinese speakers outside of the room, appear to be appropriate responses. According to Searle, the person is just following syntactic rules without semantic comprehension, and neither the human nor the room as a whole understands Chinese. He contends that when computers execute programs, they are simply just applying syntactic rules without any real understanding or thinking. So to summarize that wordy description, is that you can have a box, and there's pictures, examples of this. You can basically have a box, and you can have someone put some information in here in Chinese, and then you can have a man in there with his rule book who does not know Chinese at all. Like, he hasn't got a clue what Chinese. Like, he just has zero comprehension of the language whatsoever. But he has his book that tells him a set of rules to follow to give the correct output in fluent Chinese. And the person on the other side is completely convinced that this computer understands Chinese. Do you get what I mean? But the truth is, it's not like that. That's not how it actually works. And in a way, this symbolic representation here is quite possibly the real situation we find ourselves in. That we have this system of AI, all around us today, in which they're going to try and produce what they call consciousness. And I mean this, they're trying to really sell the idea that computers can become conscious. Okay, like AI consciousness. Now, these, like I said, these are arguments that were being had in like the 60s, 70s, 80s onwards. And I keep seeing articles, newspaper headings, all sorts of things. I was in Tesco today in the UK, and there was literally a magazine there all about consciousness specifically. And it was like Science Monthly or something like that. It's like a really high quality magazine that clearly comes out every so often, and it was heavily focusing on the latest and latest scientific breakthroughs in consciousness. And right at the end, it's talking about AI and can robots become conscious, and it was arguing it seemed like a very real possibility, and the computer scientists seem to agree. But you get all these people on the outside who have been arguing for ages saying, no, it cannot be conscious. It cannot do that. Like, it's actually impossible. But it seems like scientism is taking over the science, like as per usual, and there's this army of computer scientists out there who are more philosophers in the realm rather than actual hands-on engineers, shall we say, who are going out there saying to people in the public, AI is going to reach singularity and become conscious, and humanity is going to be able to transfer their consciousness and all this type of stuff. But then, like I said, they have these outliers, as I mentioned in the last podcast, who they can't. Like, they're presenting clearly how it is impossible for this to happen. Like, it cannot happen. Like, machines cannot have consciousness. They can give the illusion they have it, but they'll never actually have it. It's like the Chinese room experiment. It's just a set of systems and rules that can be extremely convincing. But why this constant push to make sure that we believe it can become conscious? And I don't know, man. Like, it's like there's some kind of long con going on with all of this. I feel like they're setting us up for something here, and I think they're making bodies for demons. This is my hot take, which is completely schizo compared to the rest of the world and their debates on this matter. But I'm pretty certain they're just making vessels for demons. That's all they're really doing, like for the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim to inhabit. And the promise that it will become conscious itself is to justify when that happens. It's like when it suddenly does appear to think and feel more than just syntactically, shall we say. It's because the demons inhabited the thing finally. Is it sophisticated enough for that yet? Probably not. It's probably still quite rudimentary for what the public sees. Behind the scenes, they're probably like 20 years ahead of what they're showing us. So who knows where we're actually at with that? You could all just be robots for all I know. Well, I know at least 50% of the chat is probably made up of AI robots now, due to some terrifying article I read the other day. So who knows? Who knows? But I just thought I'd bring up the Chinese room experiment for posterity. I didn't want to have missed anything. If you haven't already, you can go and check out my previous live Q&A session on that whole thing. It's like 2.5 hours worth of stuff there. You can go to podcast format. If you don't have to watch on YouTube, you can watch on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from, as people repeatedly say as like a mantra. But yes, you can go and find everything in audio only format, but it's really a visual one. And I think Spotify does visuals, I think. What's this? Sweating Bullet says, in my opinion, that they use that hoax to make decisions, and that way they can pass the blame. Okay. I think consciousness is the ruse that will convince the entire world to follow the world government. Yeah, kind of like we all have one hive mind consciousness type of attitude. All consciousness is one. We are all one type of stuff. So therefore, let's all become one world government and under one language, under one currency, and you know, centralized to the extreme type of stuff. I can see that going too. There is no such thing as artificial intelligence. That's right. That's right. That's basically what we're saying here. It's just smoke and mirrors. It's a man in a box. Like, it's nothing at all. But to us on the outside, it seems so convincing, you know. They sold the idea that business could be persons, even though they ain't. That's true. Businesses are not people. Would you ever be interested in doing a podcast with Witsit Gets It? He does a show called Witsit Kicks. And that'd be perfect, says here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have never watched a single video from that man in my entire life. I know nothing about what he does. I just know he got completely embroiled and wrapped up in the flat Earth final experiment nonsense. I doubt I'll ever talk to the guy. I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he talks about. I don't know who he is. So I don't think I would ever do such a thing. No. I've got to have some level of rapport with whoever I talk to before I talk to them, usually, to some extent. But no, I've never talked with the guy, and I've never watched a video of his. So I literally have no context to know if I will ever even have a future conversation with him. I think consciousness is a ruse. Yep, in here anyway. Says Pete's here as well. I am real, used to have a YouTube channel before I found Jesus, all demonic new age garbage, says Susie. Well, you know, I suppose quite a lot of people have been there. Did you remember the whole 2012 period of time? That was a hot mess of new age nonsense, wasn't it? That was, I think that's all we had then, you know, back in the day. It was nothing but the zeitgeist, you know, and the Mayan calendar and consciousness expansion of 5D frequencies and binaural beats and chakra alignments and orgone pyramids. That's all we kind of understood as alternative stuff back then, you know. And then we had the tribulation Christian truthers on the side, you know. And, you know, the tribulation truthers got me, and they got me to Christ at least, so I got them to thank for that. But now obviously things have got a little bit more complicated these days, just a little bit more complicated, not too much more, but it's a different it's a different truth of landscape than it used to be. Getting into truth therapy stuff here, you know, things have changed. Back in my day, it was simpler. All we needed to do was just show some footage of meteors smashing into an Earth and play Requiem for a Dream, and you had a hit, you know. There was nothing else to it. It was pretty simple stuff. Just show a bunch of images of FEMA coffins all lined up and stacked up on each other through, like, grainy 540p footage, and people were on fire, you know. Just... It didn't take much to make a good conspiracy video back in the day. Now it's all about lighting and cameras that can track your face if you want them to, and, you know, podcasting and getting guests and all. It's a completely different landscape, but I'm optimistic because I do think the truth culture has grown rapidly since those days, exponentially. I think the cat's out of the bag in a big sense, and I think a lot of narratives that they probably didn't want to expose did get exposed. I think it got a bit out of hand, and they've definitely been doing a lot of damage control over the years, but I feel like they've also been failing miserably at controlling the damage now, to the point where they're just going to externalize the hierarchy. They're just going to try and admit it's all true, admit it's all real, and move on. You know? And hopefully the people will accept them and get on with it and think, yeah, I know the Illuminati's real and they control us, but they ain't that bad. You know, I think they're trying to get that kind of stuff going on now. It's like, actually, I kind of want to join, you know. I think that's what they're trying to encourage the population to think, like, yes, they're real, but, you know, they're just a part of life. They've always been there, and maybe they're the good guys. I think they're trying to do that right now. And, I mean, talking about depopulation and things like this, and I'm not sure how long I have to wait or yammer on to disconnect that word with what I'm about to start talking about, to not let the algorithm absolutely destroy and nuke my channel. But they have just admitted to a particular form of weather manipulation, which we know has been going on for an extremely long time and have been pointing it out for well over a decade. But they finally admitted in the UK they're going to do it anyway, publicly, funded by the government to help combat climate change. So you want to talk about externalization, like they're They are showing all their cards these days, aren't they? So yeah, things are different, and our conspiracies are weirder and more, a little bit more terrifying, a little bit more closer to home than back then. Because back then it was all like future stuff. It's like all this stuff is coming, just around the corner. Transhumanism and AI and control systems and social credit systems and complete control systems, full surveillance through smartphone systems, all that type of stuff. We were talking about all these things that are like coming. They're coming. And now I've realized we're like in it and we're drowning. Like we are so far into it now. It all just kind of happened overnight. Like it's different now. And the thing is, talking about it then got you in trouble. Talking about it now seems to be okay. Like, I don't think the algorithm cares anymore. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, well, it's too late. What are you going to do? We've already implemented it. Your move type of thing. Tell everybody as much as you want. They're going to laugh at you and say, yeah, so what? It's kind of, I feel like, yeah, they've made a very apathetic community, haven't they, out of all of our newest generations. And I think no one cares anymore to kind of actually fight back as well, which is kind of sad, I think. So again, that comes with challenges for the truth movement. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm just getting really, really like nostalgic and retrospective about the journey I've been on so far and what the things I have seen change. Even like old guard truthers I used to follow years ago and watch have now considered me a pariah and don't want anything to do with me, even though we were used to be on good terms, because I started talking about the little season stuff. And it's kind of like people have changed, I think people have hunkered down and gone really into their own stuff to the point where they're unwilling to communicate with other people anymore. And I don't know. And maybe I could be wrong, but maybe they're just revealing that they were never truly a part of the movement to begin with as well. It's because of their obstinance, their absolute inability to discuss anything further about, let's say, tribulation or the millennial reign and things like this. It's kind of, no, it's tribulation around the corner. It has to be nothing else. You're evil and you're a lie for saying otherwise. It's kind of like, really? I thought you were a truther, man. I thought you were actually here to search the truth. I thought you were in on it, like trying to find out what the truth was. I thought you were a part of that thing. And it's kind of like, again, I don't want to assume malevolence, but you've got to wonder sometimes, haven't you? You've really got to wonder if like the old guard are proving that maybe they were just gatekeepers all along. And I don't want that to be the case because it's sad, It's sad. Yeah. Colton says, your book is almost here. Thanks, Paul. Excited to share it with my father. Thanks, Colton. Yeah, I sent that out maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, so that's going quite fast, isn't it? That's good. Maybe a week ago. Yeah, the courier is quite good for getting books out to people that I've chosen, so I'm quite happy about that. Let me know if your dad likes it or not. For context, to people listening, he ordered a signed copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, and I've mailed that out to him. So there you go. I have another batch of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns books for signed copies set to arrive on the 9th of May. So if you want to pre-order one of those and get it bagged now, you can email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and I can ship that out to you as soon as it arrives. As long as you pay first, obviously. But there we go. If you want a copy, let me know and just send me an email, guys. Peter Hamlet says, who accuses and condemns the brethren, not the body of Christ? Operating in the flesh is what that is. Yes, yeah, that's true. That's true. There's a lot of accusations going around these days, isn't it? And I've kind of I feel like I may have jumped ship before it sank in a way. And I'm not saying I've left behind the little season community. I'm still there. I'm just going to take less of an active spearheading role in this community right now. I think I've done enough, because something's happening that I don't really understand yet, and I'm going to watch for a while. But I can't help but feel like the whole thing. First of all, I think a lot of people are getting a bit, what's the word? It's too much now. They're sick of it. They're kind of bored of it. It's like, it's just oversaturated with it. There's that sense I was feeling. People have kind of, right, they've heard it all now enough. I think they're getting bored of the idea. And all the newbies have enough information out there to swim in for ages, and thousands of videos to watch now to sink the teeth into, that we don't really need to make more yet and keep oversaturating the idea. But there's also, I feel like it seems to be a concerted effort to take over the whole thing. in ways I don't fully understand or necessarily want to be a part of. And like I said, there's also just bad actors who have got involved recently as well, who just want to literally just attack us all like in horrible ways. And then all the debunkers have turned up now and are out for blood, you know, and it's kind of, yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave that hot mess behind. And yeah, I've done my bit. I still believe I'll still be making commentary here and there, but it's kind of, this has brought the demons out of people, and maybe it's time just to let it swim for a little bit, you know, just let it settle, just let it go, let it just ride. The truth is the truth. It is what it is. It doesn't really need defending. It defends itself perfectly once you just pay attention to what the evidence is. So I'm just going to let it go, you know, and that's it. That's where I'm at with that. I think you and JT need to coordinate your live so that you're not on live at the exact same time. Is that happening now? I don't know. I always do my live show on a Sunday, so I don't know. Like, yeah, he can get his own space. This is my space. I'm going to say that now. But you can always listen to each other's show after the live, can't you? So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Dr. Hugh Maniel's in the house. Thanks for being here. Dr. Hugh, how's the YouTube channel going? You need to get that thing started. Take my advice, just do something now and we get it going, eh? And who knows, maybe everyone can come. Everyone who's listening can go subscribe to his channel now. He's in the chats, Dr. Hugh Maniel. There's my shout out to you. He's going to start a channel. He's going to start speaking his mind. I think he's just come to Christ recently, which is wonderful. And he's got a story to tell and some ideas to share and some wild speculations to offer. And let's see what he has to offer, eh? There we go. Means you're over the mark. Well, I don't know about all of that. I mean, I think we're telling the truth, yeah. But it's kind of anything that happens in the conspiracy world, when something gets like focused and like momentum starts building, it always gets knocked back. I've seen it happen. I've been in the game for like 14 years, you know, like since I started all of this and got into it myself. And yeah, I've seen these things rise and fall a lot, and I was always hesitant to see. I didn't realize this would become one of those things. I always said this is not going away, and it's not going away. I even said to MK Ryan before I started talking about it, I said, this is going to snowball. I can tell because it's so big. And as soon as we start talking about this, my channel is going to become nothing but this topic because I'm not going to be able to leave it alone. Everyone's going to be riding it. It's just going to become a thing. And I've got to do the Nephilim clown stuff, and I don't know if I want to split focus, but I've got to talk about it because Jesus is telling me to. It's kind of that type of stuff, you know. Like I'm being pulled to say these things, and so I did it. It did do exactly what I said it was going to do to MK Ryan. It turned into a big thing, and then I could see it happening. What happened to all the other movements? A group arose, and I predicted this would happen. I actually exactly before it happened, I did talk about it in a video maybe like 2 months ago, saying what's going to happen in the future of this movement. I said groups are going to arise that are going to turn against our group that's already been doing this for a while, and they're going to start claiming we're evil, and they're going to try and take over and say they're the only arbiters of truth. And something like that did start to happen, and I feel like more of that's coming. That's just my opinion, and that's my observation. And it's kind of like, okay, well, have it, run it into the ground, do what you need to do, because it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, the word is the word. The truth is the truth. So there we go. That's that. Let's get to the topic of this show. Let's talk about the depressing idea that they're trying to kill us all en masse. You know, and again, I kind of touched earlier on the whole what they're doing in the skies thing, and how they're just admitting that they're doing it now. But it's to save our lives. It's to help save future generations. And I couldn't help but notice immediately after spring kicked in and winter ended, they really heavily began doing it. And I immediately got a horrible sickness right in my sinuses in the back of my throat that hasn't gone away. And it's been burning every morning, and it's just been, and I don't have allergies. I don't have hay fever, as they call it, you know what I mean, with pollen or anything like that. I've never had it my entire life, but lately, respiratory and nasal and sinus stuff, it's just not going away. I've had some, I lost my voice, you know. Everyone knows listening to me over the past couple of weeks, and it was really bad. And it's just never happened before, but I cannot help, as a coincidence theorist, shall we say, noticing that simultaneously when this all kicked in is when they began. And it was a few days after I got the symptoms. So who knows? Maybe that's a new way they're going to try and do it. My wife laughs about it, and she's like, there's easier ways. If they were trying to kill us all, they wouldn't do that. They just put it in the water. Just do something like that. If the end goal was to kill us all, I feel like she's saying, like, clearly a man's involved with this. Is like she said, a man came up with that plan. If that's the case, a woman would be way more efficient. She just put it in the water. I was like, you're probably right. Actually, that makes sense. It doesn't have to be so convoluted. I feel like that thing up there that they're doing has other agendas. I think it's to coincide with the blue beam, the harp, directed energy weapons, controlling the weather, all of the things like that. And obviously to make us weak, to passive, to block the sun. There's many reasons to do that, which are beyond just trying to kill us. So, but I had to talk about that for posterity. That particular topic was the first thing that I ever really talked about, like, on my channel. It was the thought, it gripped me. It gripped me hard because it was so terrifying to consider and to comprehend that they're doing something like that to us, you know. And I heavily went into the idea. I interviewed people. I went on activist days in my local area when I was at university. I followed a group. I made a piece of artwork about that topic, about that particular conspiracy. By the way, I can't say it. I hope you know what I'm talking. I can't say it because I'll get a tag. I'll get all sorts of things happening on my channel if you mention the word. And so I can't talk about, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? You all know what I mean when I'm saying these things. So yeah, it was big for me. And I've thought about it endlessly. And I've come to terms with that it's happening. And it's not a big deal for me anymore. The fear's gone because I've realized whatever they're doing, it's depopulation isn't it. It's not for that purpose. It's more for control than anything else. It's something, and that's kind of where I'm at with it currently. I'm sure you might have your own views on what's going on there exactly. Morgellons is an interesting aspect to all of that microtechnology, microbiology, which they're kind of, you know, putting into us, which is terrifying. Self-replicating strands, you know. It seems like they're trying to wire us up and make us like conductive for some kind of frequencies or signals or something. I don't know what's going on, but it's scary. It's a scary topic. And again, this is going to be a scary episode full of scary things. If you can't handle it, the heat, get out the kitchen is what I'm going to say. All right, because we know that the people who rule the world, the powers that shouldn't be, as they call them, the evil satanic Illuminati secret societies, those who cannot be actually named, and again, I think you all know who we're talking about, well, they're basically a death cult. And they consider everybody who isn't a part of their cult worthy of death, specifically. Like, they should die and they deserve to die. Because they are not like us and we're better than them. That's basically how they see it. And again, I can't get into the minutiae details of why they think that, but there's many factions within that particular death cult of why they believe they should kill everybody else around them. And one particular faction, which is really creepy and really, really, really pernicious and weird, is the Baphomet aspect of the death cult, the androgynous aspect of the death cult. And not for the reason a lot of you are probably going out there and talking about, you know, inverts and all this type of thing. It's more pernicious than that. That's just a symbol for what they want and believe. And it comes back to a few Gnostic understandings that they believe that man and woman should not be separate from one another and was separated by God to make us weak. That's basically what they believe. And they think the only way to reconcile humanity and make us powerful once more is to decrease the population, because they think we're all consciousness, and they think our consciousness has been diluted by forcing us to procreate and have sex by splitting us into male and female. The evil demiurge did this, you know what I mean? And they think they're the good guys. This is how they justify it. They believe because we now have propagated into billions of people, our consciousness is diluted because we're all one. That's kind of how they see it. We're all one consciousness. We're of divine nature, of God. We're a God ourselves. We're all God collectively, but we've been made weak because we're in too many bodies. So we're kind of like too stretched out, too thin. And if you kill people and lower that number, then they believe, this is not me, they believe then the concentration of God consciousness that we have is stronger in fewer people, and therefore we gain more godlike powers and abilities. Okay? So they think we have to cull the population of humanity because it will make us more like gods and better and more powerful and more capable. And the lie And the thing they're forced upon us, or what they believe is, God has forced upon us this issue of go forth and multiply is actually a trap. It's an evil trap, And so they're in a death cult. They think killing people is the good thing to do. Okay, they have justified it in their own mind as they are the benevolent good guys trying to free humanity from the evil demiurge type stuff. And it comes with the androgyny, Baphomet symbolism. They really genuinely believe man and woman should be one amorphous androgynous form as it originally was before Eve was created, shall we say. They think all of that was evil. That was a bad thing to do. And so that's one faction of the overall factions against us, all kind of within that pyramidal system we call the Illuminati. That's just a stupid catch-all umbrella term, which is not broad enough for how broad these groups go. And they're all kind of killing each other and fighting each other for dominance all the time as well. It's an absolute chaotic mess. And we're just cannon fodder. We're in the bottom of all. We're the ones being played with and experimented on and used and all sorts of things. We're just, especially if you don't know that's happening to you, you're even more whim to the fancies, shall we say. But make no mistake, they're in a death cult. Okay, and the Georgia Guidestones are a great example of this. And if you don't know about the Georgia Guidestones, and I assume you're living under a rock, not this particular rock, but they were around, and they were created by Freemasons. R.C. Christian or something. They called it was like a Mason. It was okay. It was an anagram for a Mason. Made these things, and yeah, well, I'm going to show you here now. So they've been destroyed. Just so you know, they've been actually destroyed. I'm going to show you on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know about this, again, if you're in the conspiracy world, you should know about this. Okay? This is not new. These things are not small, as you can see, and in pretty much, I think, quite a lot of languages. Including Aramaic, I think, and Hebrew and all sorts of things, but are these commandments that have been etched into stone, okay? And one of those commandments is maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, okay? So, that's a lot of people. When you really think about it, if we're supposed to have, 7.9 billion people, maybe 8 billion people on the planet, Earth, plane, whatever world. I'm using their language here. I get stuck in their terms. But, we have 8 billion people here, supposedly. And they want to bring it down to 500 million. So that is a huge die-off. That is an exponential number, isn't it? That is like an unprecedented drop-off in life that they're aiming for there. That's something a death cult would want to do. And they've justified themselves as protecting nations with fair laws, unite humanity with a living new language, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. It's like they have positioned themselves as the gods over humanity, the eugenicists of humanity, who are going to lead humanity into a new age of the Ubermensch, the supermen, with a more condensed consciousness in a smaller population with more resources to share and more abundance and less need for wants and scarcity, all that kind of stuff, and they've justified it. And if you find the person who made this, it's got to be somewhere. The plaque has to be somewhere who said they created this. Oh, where is it? What was their name? Either way, it was an anagram for a Mason. So a Mason made this. This is a Freemason creation, and it's being destroyed. Someone took a sledgehammer or some C4 to it or something, but this thing got absolutely decimated. I have no idea. The force involved to make this happen is impressive, but it's clearly made out to be like some kind of protest towards the evil of it all. And I'm surprised this hadn't happened sooner if people really did, care about this. Other people have said perhaps this is a ritual. They have destroyed it because they are fulfilling the promises that they wrote on there now. It's kind of symbolic of representing it's time to rebuild from the ashes type of stuff. It's kind of like they did this in order to destroy it. They built it to destroy it, like they did with the two towers, we believe. It's a symbolic ritual. You build the thing, it sends out a message, a promise, and then you destroy it to close the circuit, and then you go and fulfill the things like magic stuff. It's magic ritual stuff. So maybe it isn't simply that they were destroyed because some person out there didn't like the message. It's possible it was destroyed as a part of the process. And an explosion. Apparently, it was an explosion. Yeah. So someone took some C4 to it, or dynamite, or something. I can't remember exactly how it worked or what went down there. But this thing had like sun alignments with all sorts of things, stars and the sun and the moon, and holes drilled into it, just like typical megalithic structures do. All sun worship stuff, all pagan nonsense. It's all kind of built into this whole thing. Yeah. So if that's just some evidence here that we're dealing with a death cult. Okay, let's just lay that out on the table. If you didn't know that, you should know that. Okay, this is what you should know. So that being said, I've laid out a bit of a foundation. Our guest is ready, so I'm gonna let him in, and we're gonna go even further into all of this. Okay, so bear with me.
Here we go. Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. We're live, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
They
There
can
you
hear
go.
us. I think I can hear you. I'll just turn my own
Yeah,
volume up.
been a little while. I think last year's when last time we talked.
It was, yeah, about a year ago. I think the last thing we
Yeah.
did was talk about the Little Season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was that. So we are live currently, right?
We are live. I'm midstream.
Okay.
I've just been ranting about population control, the Georgia Guidestones, the keep the population under 500 million. I kind of doing a quick catch up on that concept and how the people that are in control, who have many factions, who many we can't name, and you are the master of dodging the algorithm with many made up names and workarounds, so maybe you can help me out today. But I was basically
Yeah.
explaining how they're in a death cult, and they actually do think lowering the population is a good thing because in their own twisted Gnostic belief system, it's that humanity, when smaller in number, has a more powerful consciousness because we're all one. So
Well, we're easier to control too.
that
if you have
too.
less.
There's that too. Yeah, yeah. I think like I said, I think there's the evil controller people who are like,
Yeah.
make it small so we can control them more. But then there's the wild card factions who are like Baphomet androgynous worshipping weirdos who believe man and woman shouldn't be having sex and making more children, more people, more diluted consciousness.
Right.
It makes us weak, so they have to kill the population, make us smaller, so our consciousness as a collective is more powerful. They're the wackos in the group, but they're still there.
Don't in your country right now, don't they have some bill or something that they're trying to pass for dimming the sun?
I just talked about that too. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
And that actually, according to a NASA study, would actually cause there to be less animals. And actually, so when they have more sun, it actually cools the earth because the plants actually suck up the heat
That's
from the
right.
sun. And so it's actually the opposite of what they usually say. They usually tell you that more sun means global warming. And of course, that's why I think that's probably why they changed the word from global or phrase from global warming to climate change, because then it's easy to back up climate change. The climate's changing. Oh my goodness. That does it every day. So,
Well, the climate's
right.
always changing. That's right. If it's
So-
not an ice age, then it's a solar maximum or something. I don't know. But they are making. I explained. I think it's the externalization of the hierarchy stuff. I think they're just laying the cards on the table these days. They're just letting you know what they're doing, and the public now is tacitly agreeing and accepting. And
I think it's kind of interesting because, like countries like Canada and perhaps a number of European countries, they're still kind of going along with their plans more so. You see in America, it's a little bit different because you have X, you had Elon purchase Twitter, and there's a lot of free speech there. So people are saying a lot of stuff, a lot of things are being said on X. And of course, we're seeing in Canada and the UK a lessening of speech. You know what I mean? So it's really kind of bizarre looking at it from where I'm at, because we're seeing America kind of going in a different direction, a different trajectory, and it's becoming very obvious that the emperor has no clothes. These elites are actually losing their power. From what I can tell, as long as Trump is continuing to go the direction he is, I think these tariffs are actually a good thing. And it is kind of weird how the tariffs came out around the exact same time. A lot of these videos about China with mysteriously less population in certain cities. Now, I don't believe that China's got 300 million people or something like that. It's probably a billion. I don't know what it is, but it does seem to be a lot lower than
Mm.
1.4 billion. At least to me, it does.
Yeah, well, I do want to get into that because when I saw your work on this and people have been mentioning it to me, say, have you heard about China and all this type of thing? I assume they saw your videos on these, to be honest. But I was thinking about, so the population of China is way lower than what they told us. That would make sense if our population was never as big as they told us to begin with. What if it's not dropped necessarily, but it was never that big to begin with? And I saw
Maybe
that
a combination of the two.
yeah, well,
Combination.
I was reminded of the Georgia Guidestones because it says maintain humanity under 500 million. And I'm like, wait a minute, does that mean it already is?
Oh, that would be weird. That would be very weird.
I had a thought, like, is that what it actually means? Like,
That is kind of interesting. They said, I think they're talking about a future maintaining, but it
yeah,
would make sense though. I mean, it's not like the Communist Party is known for telling the truth all the time.
no.
And particularly if you're into business and you're investing in China, they actually made it illegal to say negative things about companies there, particularly ones backed by the government, which is a
Mm,
lot of them. So how can you even know what to invest in? A company could be going completely bankrupt. You would have no clue. It'd be like Enron's everywhere.
mhm.
So with China, it wouldn't be too surprising if they were lying about some stuff, at least to me.
Well, I think that, well, you actually have experience in China, don't you? You did trade there.
Well, yeah. I used to buy a lot of product from China.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had suppliers there. I was sort of like a monkey in the middle. I had sellers and I had suppliers, and I was kind of like making the money in the middle.
Hmm.
So
My brother did
I
the
did that
same
for
thing.
years.
My brother did the same thing where he jumped on the electronic cigarette market when it first kind of opened up, and
Ah,
he
okay.
managed to get produced his own like batch and all that. It failed. It failed. His business failed, but he found people in China to make it for him. It's like it's very
White label. Yeah.
interesting time back then. Like, what's that, like 10 years ago or something? But what you're telling me now
Yeah.
is like it's the market's completely changed. Everything's just
I think I got out at the exact right time. I got out, I think, in 2017. And from what I can tell, these cities are emptying out. The young people don't want to work. They're having less kids and they don't want to work. So that's not a good sign,
hmm,
right? You're having less kids. You have less kids to do the work in these factories and they don't want to work. There's a new trend. They call them rat people, where they just simply lay around all day and they put out TikToks or about it. Not maybe not TikTok, whatever China uses. I don't know what they use.
hmm.
I know Russia and China got their own social media stuff, like Yandex for Russia. I don't know what China's. I don't even know what their social media is.
Hmm.
Uh, but because they kind of stay separate from the West, right, with their social media.
They do. I've heard of it. I'm blanking now, but I've heard the name plenty of times. They do have the it's like a closed system for them. It's just their own
Right.
social media system. They do not partake in the Western social media at all. It's just completely within their own bubble, and it would make sense like if Russia does the same, and I think Iran as well. I think they're all kind of seems like they're like becoming like, or at least it's pushing towards the idea that they're like an axis against the West in some way.
Like AliExpress is kind of the Amazon for Russians. I know that, and for a lot of
Yeah.
people over there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
But
AliExpress, I saw a pram on there the other day. We're looking for like a pram that holds like a 3-year-old and a baby because there's a big age gap. And we found one that's perfect. And we looked everywhere, and AliExpress was selling like a £400 pram for like $50, like their own knockoff version. And I was like, that's impressive. It looks like
tariff is $500 though, right?
it looks like it'll fall apart as soon as I take
Yeah.
it out of the box. But I thought I liked that they were pushing it on me. I don't something that made me laugh. I don't know what it was, but it was cheap. Like it was cheap. So I don't think I'll be buying anything from AliExpress myself anytime soon on
Well, I
that.
mean, you gotta wait. You gotta wait a little while. It looks like China's now finally coming to the negotiation table with America, but
Hmm.
and I knew it would happen. It's super obvious that it would happen, but it's so weird looking at all these smart people. There's a lot of intelligent people I hear on YouTube that talk about various topics, and there's some of them just couldn't wrap their mind around these tariffs. You just couldn't figure it out. I mean, they're like stuck in it, like thinking this is forever.
Hmm.
Like it's obviously a marketing ploy, not a marketing, a business tactic. Like art of the deal type of thing.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, with China, I do wonder because Shanghai and Beijing are looking less. I mean, they look like there are a lot less people there, particularly in their malls and their subway systems. There's these videos coming. A lot of the people making the videos are from China. It looked like, or at least they're Chinese.
Hmm.
You know, of course, people will say, "Oh, they just hate China and they hate the communists or whatever, and that's why they're doing it." But that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I saw this other guy who's known for doing reports on China Leo Y86. Have you heard of that channel?
No, I can't say I have. No.
I think he has another channel called Serpentine something. I can't remember what it's called, but they're like kind of like I don't know if they're Americans or British or not. I don't know where they're from, but they talk about China a lot. They lived there for a long time, then left, and he's like kind of making fun of this whole thing about China's population only being 300 million. Now, obviously, they say it's 1.4 billion. I
Mm,
don't think it's no 300 million, but I don't know what it is. Some are saying 700 million, some are saying a billion. The fact is, they started the one child policy back in 1975, and they were at 900 million at the time, right?
mm-hmm,
And it wasn't the entire country, right? It was like most of the country, but you had maybe some rural areas where they allowed them to have more than one kid, right?
mm-hmm,
But imagine how many kids you would have to have. Like, let's say it was even just half the population could only have one, and the other half could have as many as they wanted. You would have to have like 7 or 8 kids per family over here to outbalance this to make it 3 or 4, right?
mm-hmm.
Overall, for the country to even go up in population.
Yeah.
So either they're popping out babies like crazy in the rural areas while the cities were at one child, or they're not telling us the truth. I kind of feel like maybe they weren't telling the truth fully
Mm,
because a lot of countries, like if you go, I've been to Asia, I've been to Kyrgyzstan. I don't know if you ever heard of that country. I was there for like 9 months. And you can see this pattern everywhere. They would like your great great grandma or your great grandmother might have had like 8 kids, right? And then the next generation 4 kids, the next generation 2 kids. Now it's like zero, right? It's the same in China. I'm sure it is. It was the same in this Kyrgyzstan, which is sort of like Mongolian descent or like Genghis Khan descent. They're Asians as well. They were the same way. Like her mom had like 12 siblings, and then it was like 6, and then it's like 3,
mm,
right? So I'm sure it happened in China too. It wasn't like the entire time they were having bazillions of kids, right?
mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you think about it, but to me, it doesn't seem possible it could be 1.4 billion, just with all
Mm,
that being said.
no, like I say, I think the birth rates, I think they have to be over 2 as an average for just to replace the population
Yeah,
that you have.
to stay even.
Yeah, so if they had a one-child policy, which again, not everyone actually would have followed. Someone did mention in my Telegram group when discussing this idea. It says that he lived in China and he saw these things happen. He knows people who work there, and he says a lot of people just paid off the officials to have another kid, and everyone turned a blind eye to it. There was also that issue then that they
Yeah,
had.
that makes sense.
So the people were actually having, but not. I think not enough. I think, like you said, they probably maybe averaged around 1.5 rather than 2, which would make a slow decline with each passing generation. But not a fast one,
Right.
but it would whittle away year by year. You know what I mean? And it would kind of not exponentially drop, but it would definitely drop with a one-child policy. And then they had the issue with they all wanted male children rather than female children.
Right.
And
That's another factor.
that
That's
causes-
where they paid them off too, probably, is when they had the female and they're like, I want a
Exactly.
male.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And because it's corrupt, like no one really followed the rules properly. It was just one of those ideas, and all the officials there in the country like that would just easily get paid off. It's like, why would they care? You know what I mean? And I think also because of funding, he was explaining how businesses will lie about populations and things like this and how many people are working for them to please the government, to get more funding from the government to
Oh,
forward
man.
what the, you know what I mean? So the numbers
Yeah,
are
no, you're right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah, the numbers are inflated because it's a completely corrupt country where everyone's lying about everything all the time for their own gain and benefits. Communism, basic
But-
communism. You know what I mean? Like, and,
No, you see it in America
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
With
yeah.
Doge, they found all these millions of social security numbers that are not legit.
Mm.
People that are 300 years old, 200 years old. And I heard the same thing was happening in China. They had also a number of people on the books that are just not existing anymore. They're like maybe people that died already or whatever.
Mhm.
So if it happens in America, it's probably going to happen in a communist country too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
cutting
for
corners
sure.
all over the place. But I think this idea that what this all kind of boils down to is that everyone thought China was such a threat because it has such a huge population, and that means huge funding, manpower, productivity power, and it's kind of, they always had to give this illusion that Chinese people are like superheroes who are super good at maths and can do amazing in synchronized stuff. You saw the Olympic ceremony, right? That type of attitude, you know what I mean? But it all kind of, like these fears and these agendas tend to like bubble up and these psyops bubble up. It turns out to be a big nothing in the end. It was all just hype. It was all just they're just a failing country like everybody else struggling to get by. Do you know what I mean? And all populations are suffering under the thumb of their own regimes in a sense. It's all just smoke and mirrors. And I suppose this new information coming out is kind of in a way kind of proven.
It is kind of
China's
weird.
not the enemy. You know what I mean? Really, fundamentally, we have a bigger enemy that's behind all of it, behind all world governments that's running all of this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The big Z, we'll call it, or something like that. I don't know what you're supposed to call these things, but it's,
Right. I agree with you, but I feel like they're losing their power. I think it started around 2021. I think the whole thing with Ukraine was the first sign of them losing. And you even had some of the like Kissinger and others admitting it that they were losing.
Mhm.
But the others didn't listen, of course. Uh, they weren't able to get Vladimir unseated.
Mhm.
And I think that was their goal with the whole war was to unseat Putin, and it didn't happen. So because they're trying to get their banks in every country, right? Like they had
Mhm.
it for a short time there. I think like 2020, 2019, somewhere in there, they had it all. But then they lost it very quickly, and it's only gotten worse for them. So I feel like, it's just the top 0.001% of the population trying to control the entire world. And like you said, they want a lower population so they can do it,
Mhm.
and it's just not feasible. So their whole thing's falling apart, I think, now.
I feel like so.
And
It feels like I was explaining at the start of this podcast. Conspiracy is different now. It's not like it used to be back in the day, like when I first started, in like 2011, 2012. The old.
yep, you're right, 100%.
It's not the
Go ahead.
same. I don't feel like we're fighting the same fight anymore. Like I feel like I can get away with saying stuff now you just couldn't say then, because everything we were saying then was like a future problem coming our way soon. And we were talking
Right.
about transhumanism, world currency, social credit systems, all those things, 15-minute cities, whatever. Name a thing that was like coming in the future near us. Like it's just around the corner, guys. They're going to enslave us all. And now I feel like they're just telling us that they're doing these things to us now.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I talk about it, they're letting me talk about it, and they're not actually like demonetizing videos or striking anybody anymore. It's just
Right.
open. It's out in the open. It's like, yeah, it's like kind of like they're saying, yeah, we control everything. So what? It's kind of like they're just brazen more than ever, and it makes me
I
wonder,
think they
like, what am I
figured out
doing?
their.
Go
I think
ahead.
they figured out when they tried to limit them that it backfired
Yeah, they
because
did.
people are
Yeah.
rejecting their message more and more. Then on top of that, that's what essentially got Trump in too, was with sort of the backlash from the whole thing. Yeah, you're right. 2017 is when it first started, all the issues, I think,
Mm.
on a lot of social media. But now it's gotten less and less. I think if maybe if he wouldn't have won, it would be really bad right now.
Mm.
If Elon wouldn't have purchased X, if we didn't have the president we do have currently, it might have. And I feel like what you're going to see in some of these other countries like Canada and Europe, in some European countries, is it's going to get worse, and it's going to be bizarre, kind of, from my standpoint, because I'm like, we're getting better and they're getting, and it's like you can see that's where we would be at if we didn't have things happen here. And it's really kind of
Yeah.
sad to see what happened with Canada, because Carney got in, right, and it was very close. It seemed sort of close, but I feel like they're going to go downhill now more. I really do.
More than Trudeau, I don't. Well,
Well, I'm probably not more than Trudeau.
the
I would hope not. But then again, you remember, people were saying that about Joe Biden too, and look what happened. So
well, the thing is, I deal with currency exchange rates all the time because I sell my book to different places and I'm shipping costs and stuff.
Forex,
and
yeah.
and the Canadian dollar is shocking. The value of that currency is really bad. Like really bad. It's also Australia, funnily enough. They're on par with each other. But yeah, there's something going on in Canada. Like they are falling apart at the seams. Like it's obvious to anyone from the outside who trades with them in any way, or he probably even lives there. I assume. I think they can see
Yeah.
there's a big problem going on here, and I'm not surprised if there be a mass migration south from Canada. I really wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, or a takeover north. I've heard that's on the talk,
Yeah.
isn't it?
right, 51st state or
Yeah.
something. I think they was just trolling him, but I honestly, I don't know. Maybe he would really do that if he could. I don't think he'll be able to do that. But
No,
again,
no.
they do a lot of business with America, and he can essentially have a lot of control over their economy
Mm.
because they do so much manufacturing for America. They do a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of their economy comes to America. But yeah.
But on the idea of population falling and things kind of changing, like it's 2016 period, like I said, everything did change with that political upheaval. Massive pendulum swing. No one saw it coming. Right? I was at part of the conspiracy crusade. Hillary's going to win. It's going to be more of the same. We're just going to keep the agenda going, marching us towards the guillotine stuff. I just imagine they're going to use those coffins in the FEMA that they've had piled up, the FEMA coffins.
Oh, my goodness.
But then Trump won. I was like, well, I was wrong. I did not see him going this way. And the whole thing's playing out. It's a confusing mess.
Well, I think you would have been correct. I think you would have been correct if God wasn't involved, because I really feel like God was part of it.
In some way.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying our president's some perfect dude, because I don't think that at all. I kind of feel like he just, like you see in the Bible or in Scripture in the Old Testament, he'll use a leader even if the leader's not following him. It's kind of like that. You know?
I think I feel I hear that sentiment a lot these days, and I'm starting to see, you know, it could be possible. All things are possible in God, and I kind of understood it's like, look, if things are going to be good in any way, shape, or form, reap those benefits while they're there, because it's going to be short lived. But I'm not against it. If Trump makes things better, they make things better. Take it,
Right.
you know, because what else have you got in this time? But I don't know what to make of the guy myself. I'm watching every moment. I'm analyzing. I'm thinking, you know. But I never put your faith in any man. Keep it in Christ is always the basic underlying advice I try to follow anyway, you know. But something interesting is happening. You were talking about Twitter, for example. I remember when it was just a cesspit of left-wing liberal lunacy, and now it's a cesspit of right-wing lunacy instead. Like it really is. Like it's a the stuff on there.
It reminds me of Facebook in the aspect that I always feel like I'm wasting time when I'm on there. You know, I get on YouTube, I don't feel like I'm wasting time really.
Yeah.
When I got on Facebook, I always felt like I was wasting time. When I got on Twitter, like at first, like you'll get some good stuff here and there, but then you feel like I've seen this video 5 times. Why do they keep putting it up? And you know, it's like always something stupid. It's all emotional stuff. It's all like reactionary, and I really hate that stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe because of my personality. You're probably more analytical as well, so you're not really so much into reaction and being upset. And,
it's all drama on Twitter and X, shall I say.
A lot of drama.
They're all just like, debate me, bro. They're all fighting each other. They're all just arguing. I don't know.
It's the place for ENTPs to grow.
I guess so. But I was shocked because I don't go on there often. I have an account, but I don't use it. And when I do go on there, I'm seeing things on there. I'm like shocked. Like, how is that allowed to be on the internet on X? Like, people being shot, all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's a lot of crazy stuff on there. Yeah,
just insane stuff. And I'm like, is this better? I'm not sure this is better. You know, like, in many ways,
it's raw. It's very raw.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of emotion. And I think because you got those 2 stories that have went really viral recently with Carmarlo, and then you had the one with the white lady who called a little kid a name.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing all this reaction, everybody upset, and a lot of racism stuff, and a lot of, you know, Middle East stuff, you know, with Israel. And you got all Ethan Klein and Hassan doing a debate, you know, recently, and all this. It just seems like it's kind of going to it's kind of reaching pinnacle or something with a lot of this stuff. A lot of the race and everything.
It seems like, well, we talk about depopulation, which is the name of this show today, loosely so-called, you know, but it feels like we're building up to some kind of boiling point. And I was reading,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I was reading, I quickly asked the people in my Telegram group to send me as much information they can on the Deagle report. Do you remember when that came out? It was like 2020.
Yeah,
this report
sounds familiar.
Yeah, this report came out by a contractor company for the US government called Deagle, who basically works in analytics and statistics, and they did something with the US for North Korea as well. So they're actually quite involved and a trusted analytical company, I think, that works with the US government. And in 2014, they released a list of a prediction of world populations for each country by 2025, and it's a drastic 85% drop in population by 2025 is what they predicted, basically. And I'll share the screen with you. Maybe I'll share you.
I remember hearing about this.
I'm gonna have to share it with you so you can see this for yourself, okay? Because I think you might maybe need to make a video yourself about this.
Do you have some of the video on China's empty subways and all that stuff too? Have you shown that or no?
I've not shown any of that. No. If you want to share that with me yourself, you can do. But I'm just gonna quickly. I've got it in my Telegram here. Some people sent me the links, so I'll quickly just grab that. So I've got the links ready. So
I sent you a link.
you send me a link. Send me a link as well. Yeah, perfect.
Well, it's for the China, like, you know, the Shanghai, Beijing, and the emptying out. It's kind of strange.
Well, we'll circle back to that once we read this. 'Cause I think maybe there's a connection here. Maybe there's something going on. I don't know. Again, a lot of this for me is new, to be honest. I'm kind of exploring this for the first time. many of these type of topics because I've been swimming too much in the little season stuff for too long and the Nephilim clown stuff that I've kind of forgot to get back in touch with.
Oh yeah,
you know?
little season. I haven't talked about. You've been talking about it all the time. I haven't talked about it much. I need to do a video on that soon here again.
I'm done with it, man. Well, I'm not done with it, but
You've done it a lot.
I've talked it to death. That I'm kind of exacerbated with it, and I love the topic. I think it's fascinating.
I haven't talked about it in like months. I don't think.
You'll circle back around. I'm no doubt. You can't.
Yeah,
it's hard,
I talk about everything, so I just talk about whatever's happening.
Yeah. It's hard to leave it alone. That kind of topic, to be honest. So, right, I'm gonna think it's probably best if I share the whole screen. To be honest, just because it's. You're going to see, there we go. So let me just, what do you see?
OBS. I see OBS.
Yeah, I thought
now.
so. I thought you would see OBS. Yes. If I change this, do you see this now, this screen?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So they can see,
revisited.
They can see what we can see. Perfect. So this is written by somebody in 2022, clearly a conspiracy theorist type minded person, but they brought forth this report and laid it all out. And, if you haven't heard about this is shocking stuff. So basically, like I said, this report randomly just came out in 2014.
Oh yeah, that guy, the guy on the bottom there with the video. I've seen him before. I forgot his name though.
I don't know. James Corbett. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a million years. I used to watch him a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Apparently, he did a commentary on it. I'm not. This guy brought it forth. But he's saying like these predictions are not facts. We can't say certain countries are going to face such fall in their populations. We just don't know these things. And he's like, James is not at all convinced, you know. But he goes here to explain how these trends could lead towards this thing happening. Devaluation of the dollar, strange instance of the mRNA vaccine on the world population. That's a bit of a... People couldn't make sense of these figures, but after what happened at that time period in 2020 onwards, it's kind of given people a bit more of an understanding of how these things could be possible. You know, pandemic is on the list of reasons why that Deagle is explaining. This is what the think tank who made these statistics are saying their reasoning behind it is. Okay, so this is from them themselves, from Deagle's forecast and the other trends. So global pandemic, desire for war with China, Russia and Iran, China, Russia and Iran forming a unified Asian bloc, like I mentioned earlier, race war, as you just mentioned, progressive onslaught and control of all electronic media, looming bubbles in every facet of American life, property market, food market, all those type of things about to just crash, causing mass chaos, pension bubbles about to pop as well, mass suicides, all sorts of things they're trying to say that could cause this to happen. And this is it. This is the list they've got, okay? And they've done it in alphabetical order here, but if you just do it into population change order, they're predicting by 2025, the United Kingdom is going to drop by 77.1%. We're at the top of the list. This is 2017, you know, 63 million in 2017.
That didn't happen because you have so much immigration, right? Or no?
Well, our immigration is unfettered and an absolute serious issue and problem. It's basically invasion by another name. It absolutely is. There's no two ways about it. And I think...
But did your population decrease, though, or a lot, or no?
Let's find out now. Let me find out British population now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know much about that.
Let's have a look at British population. So currently, apparently, we had a spike.
I wonder what that's from.
Well, this is what I mean. Yeah, but generally speaking,
looks a little unnatural. Looks a little unnatural there.
Yeah, apparently it rose, but I doubt that. It seems like it's on the decline.
Yeah.
Population of England.
It did go down and then it spiked up. That's kind of weird.
It was estimated 68.3 by 2023, which is no one with the Deagle here is saying it's gone up since 2017. That's what they're saying. But this Deagle report is saying by 2025 it's going to plummet to 14 million.
I feel like it has something to do with. I don't think it was just them predicting. I feel like they had some inside information from those who wanted to make certain things happen. Kind of like they're kind of like sort of giving a game plan. Along with these predictions.
It seems like it. A lot of people have been thinking since this came out like 4 years ago, what the hell is this? They've taken it down, by the way. Deagle have taken it off their website. They removed it for damage control, but it's on the archives. Someone sent me the archive, and I've linked it in the description of this video, so you can get.
So this is what they wanted to happen. and
Apparently so. Apparently
it didn't
so.
happen the way they expected,
Or
because
it hasn't happened yet. People are saying something big
Yeah.
is about to happen in 2025, which will wipe out the populations. That's kind of what they're saying. It's not
yeah,
supposed
well,
to be a
I've
slow
heard-
decline. Go ahead.
I've heard I watch these guys that do prophecies and follow sort of which ones have things correctly predicted, right?
Mm.
And there are some saying that there is going to be some weird sickness in the not, I don't know how many years, but they're saying some of the guys have gotten things correct. Like there's a guy that predicted that our president would have his ear grazed, you know, that whole
I've heard,
thing.
I've seen that guy. Is he bald, wearing Hawaiian shirts normally?
Brandon
Yeah,
Diggs.
I remember that one. Yeah.
He was talking about there's going to be a really nasty virus that comes out in some years. I don't know how many years, but it's going to be way worse than the COVID. I don't know if it's true.
I don't think
But-
you need to be a prophet to know that's coming around the
Well,
corner.
I mean,
you
yeah,
know?
see, that's the way I look at it. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny because like these prophets, they'll predict things, and I'm like, you know what? Actually,
no
I
day,
predict. I'll just think about it, and I'm like, well, actually, that makes perfect sense. Or I'll actually say things that I think are going to happen, and then I'll see these guys predict what I'm saying, and I don't know if it's just because I can see stuff because I put all this data together, or what's going on. You know what I mean?
I think
it's just kind of
everybody
funny.
knows that was just the first tester round for what they're going to do in the
Right,
future, right? I think everybody knows that was just a taste, a quick dry run of what they're going to try and pull in some point in the future. Okay, that's not the end of that scenario.
Right, for
we're not
sure.
allowed to talk about. But I thought it's funny on here in China's case, their population is set to decrease only by about 1.6%.
Yeah, this is just not believable. You know, it's so interesting because I think it has a lot to do with the West. Which ones were the lowest? It was the West, right? That had the most decrease.
It's literally, he did a map here. Hang on. So the dark ones are, I think he's saying 70%, 26%, 70%, no change. I don't know what the highlights are supposed to represent, but I think he's basically saying there's no change here in this region,
It's all the West.
but all the West,
West.
is plummeting massively.
Because
yeah.
I think it's part of their plan because the West is hard to control.
Yeah.
So whatever, and if you look at the guy, the Klaus guy, Santa Claus as I call him, the world economic guy,
I like that.
he had a book that he wrote where he was talking about which cultures were easier to control and which ones were not, and the West is a problem for them. So they can't control them, so you need to get rid of them. I mean, it's pretty simple to understand. You can't control something, get rid of it, right? So
Which is why all these ones that are pale down here, they are flooding north into these regions up here, to replace. It's a population replacement. It's
yeah,
and it seems like all the agendas we've been looking at, and which the death cults have created, are to encourage us to not continue ourselves and to end ourselves. Basically.
well, yeah, be gay,
you know.
be whatever, anything to keep you from having kids and a family.
Anything, and honestly, it's whatever sticks.
Literally anything.
It's
anything,
whatever
man.
sticks. You know what I mean? They're throwing at us, and it's like some people are
Watching
good.
movies endlessly, playing video games, don't have
exactly.
any purpose in life, whatever it might be,
All that
no
stuff.
culture.
Exactly. And Christians don't buy it. That's the
Yeah,
thing. We're a
right.
problem, and predominantly we're a Christian nation. So the majority of
Right.
us, that's why we're a problem. It's kind of like no,
Oh, yeah.
you're not. I'm a part of the kingdom of God, not your weird governmental system. It's that kind of thing, And that's an issue. But like I said, the UK is going to be the heaviest hit by this,
That's really crazy. I didn't know the UK was the highest on that thing.
and the
And
United States is third.
Ireland
yeah.
has had it pretty bad though. I've heard Ireland, they have so. I heard some weird statistic about that the amount of 20-year-olds that were born in Ireland is about equivalent to the amount of 20-year-olds that have come into the country.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's true or not, but that's pretty crazy if it's true.
I would believe it probably is true.
That's crazy, man.
It's something has to change, or it's over.
I had
know.
people that sell for me back in the old days, like I was telling you, or I was like in the middle and I had suppliers and sellers. I had a guy in Ireland that was selling for me for a while. I remember he had to like drive really far to get into the town or something. He was telling me it was kind of weird, but I had people in lots of different countries selling for me
Well,
back in the
I'm surprised Ireland's so high on this list, or important to these people as well. Maybe it has something to do with the type of people.
the fighting Irish, man. They
Yeah.
got some strong will. I mean, they're definitely not weak.
They're a heavily Catholic nation as well. like Christian
They're
Catholic
they're
nation, you know.
pretty itinerant, right? Like they give
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys a pretty hard time, right? So
Well, our churches are very watered down. Our Christianity in England is very, I would say, dead. I would
I
personally
think in
say
like
it's
the
dead. Yeah.
70s and 80s, didn't you guys have a lot of fighting back in those
It was
days?
different between the Protestants and the Catholics. There was a separation between the British Empire and the island. There's wars on the border. Yeah, those are issues. Yeah, there's definitely issues. I'd say that's kind of a relic of the past now. We keep to ourselves. It's different. No, and I think generational shifts in attitudes towards religion has definitely changed perspectives on whether it's worthy to have such fights and the necessities and borders and globalist ideologies taking over younger generations has made them less care about their nations and such squabbles over land and borders and which empires are we a part of, or we're our own nation.
Well, I mean,
it's that type of thing. So
the history of the British Isles, man. Looking into that, Brutus, I think from the Trojan Wars, founded Britain, and they were pretty hard to beat. I think the Romans had a hard time trying to conquer the British Isles. So
mhm.
you were tough as nails back in the old days, and gave them a hard time. So
Well, according to the main narrative, they did conquer Britain. They stuck around for a few hundred years.
it took a while, though. It took them a few times.
Eventually they went, you know what, sod it, and they just left. Like, the Romans just left. It's like, let them eat each other alive. We don't care anymore. Then obviously you had the kingdoms, Mercia and Wessex, and all the rest of it fight it out. And then they had the feudalist systems with the lords and the knights and the rest of it. And it depends if you want to go off mainstream history and think any of that's actually like true or not. I don't really know anymore, to be honest. And things are getting weird in the conspiracy realm for like timelines and things, but it's still interesting nonetheless when you look into the history of it all. But we don't live in that world anymore. And I think most people live in.
We don't live in that world. That's for sure.
Most people live in England, hate England. They don't want to be here. They hate their own country.
It's really sad, because
Yeah.
I mean that was starting to happen in America really pretty bad too. I would say almost half of America doesn't like America, at least in some respects.
I think it's because of the governments, though. It's not because of the country itself. Because I think is I grew up in.
It's also social media and programming and our stuff,
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I live in the north of England. It's rainy. It's grey. It's miserable. We don't get much sun. Yeah, okay.
That sounds like Washington D.C. That's gray and just,
and it is soul sucking. I get it, and
Yeah.
lack of vitamin D, it can cause some problem. But I like it here. Like there's something about it. It's my home, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful place to live, even when it's raining. I look at the trees everywhere, the way it's built, the history here, and everything about it. And
the countryside for sure can't be that.
Oh yeah, I feel connected to it, but I know people who are like, no, I just don't feel connected. I need to leave, and I empathize with that too. It's like, yeah, because everything else is falling apart. The country is beautiful, but the systems are so corrupt. It's the tax
your
here.
Your church ain't doing too well, that's for sure.
No, they're all empty and being turned into mosques or sold into like
trendy. Off the curb. You've watched that guy Off the Curb Ministries, right?
He rings a bell. Actually, I think I used to watch him.
He's got the really big channel where he just talks about I don't know, like he gives the gospel and he talks about some viral story of the time or whatever. But he'll talk about England sometimes, and he'll talk about the church and what's going on.
Well, the church is a mess. The churches are being sold. They're being turned into restaurants, trendy restaurants instead or something, or lofts.
So instead of praying, you go for walks, and that's the new thing. You don't want to offend anybody and all this kind of stuff.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
It's really sad. It reminds me of the Methodist Church here in America. It's just really, really backwards and the opposite of what it was when it first was founded.
Well, that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and we'll share what you shared with me. This.
Okay.
Was this link here?
Are only over 10 people in the entire subway.
That's an interesting little video. It shows kind of how empty some of the subways are. About the 20-second mark.
I'll quickly share the screen with you again so you can see what we're doing there. And I think you can see what we're seeing now. I think OBS can see what we're seeing now too. That's good. I can't see what I'm supposed to click now because of this.
Well, you had it right at first.
Yeah, I know I did, but now I can't see what I'm doing. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, okay. So I'll skip through this. We'll turn the sound off just for copyright things. So I think you were showing footage of this. Is this someone just walking around?
It was a 20-second mark, I think it was.
The 20-second mark.
Where it starts. That's where a lot of it starts, I think, is the 20-second mark, where you can see some of the empty subway systems and stuff. And like they'll even show like on a Saturday night, it's like still empty. And this is, during the week, like in Beijing and Shanghai, and they're estimating, some of the people that are making the videos, they're speaking Chinese, they're estimating, like they're saying, well, maybe 1 million people left our city. They only have 20 million people in the city, but I would think that it'd be more than 1 million if they're having empty malls and empty parking lots like this. Maybe it's just like a section of the city's empty. Maybe it could be that, I guess. I don't know.
Well, someone did say in the Telegram group, actually, maybe I've got it here. I think he wanted to give his 2 cents about the regarding the population decline here and disappearing in China. He says the city's population will be dropping due to lack of work. The tariff war is having a huge effect on this. Many factories, if they were quick enough, moved to surrounding countries, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, are now producing the goods, Chinese or Taiwanese owned, with locally trained staff. So the Chinese are going home to the villages as they are broke. They go stay with family.
Yeah. So, I've heard that too, but I've also heard that even the smaller cities are getting empty too. So that makes you kind of wonder. And it could have something to do also with the new trend of just not working at all. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know what that's all about, but I mean, if you are going back home to a village, you probably don't have a lot of work there anyway. So you're probably just like, I'll just lay around for a while and spend the money I had from the last job when I was in the city or whatever for a while, and I don't know. Maybe
in a country, because I don't know how a communist country operates really like this, because
it's got to be cheaper in the village areas, because like when I was in Kyrgyzstan, like it would be a lot more expensive in the city than in the countryside. Your money would go way farther in the countryside. Like the 10th the price, for some stuff.
Well, I think that makes sense then. That's probably what's going on here, Like I think it's more of a mass migration of the workers out of the cities, because I imagine in China, cities are literally just a place to work. Like,
I think that's what I heard. That's how they would do it. Is a lot of these people would come from the rural areas to work in the cities, and if the jobs are not there or not paying enough, or it's too expensive to live in the city while working there, then maybe they don't want to be there anymore. But I do feel like it can't be 1.4 billion, because they had 25 years of one-child policy until 2015. And it just doesn't make, the people that weren't having one child would have to have like 10 kids or 8 kids just to make the population grow like they did. And I can't imagine there's a family having 8 kids in 2000 or 2005. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It would seem like maybe they would be under 1 billion or about 1 billion or something. I'm guessing, but I don't know. So,
one aspect I'm thinking here about, thinking about the Deagle report as well, how they're intending to have these just sudden, just big drops, And even in that report, I think if I show you here, they were saying, the guy was saying, like, it takes a lot more to drop a population than you think. It's kind of like, I think he goes through the different means it could happen. And he's like, civil war, 2 to 10% maybe of a country. Genocide can go from 25 to 99%.
Well, that might have been what was part of the equation that we weren't being told. I don't know.
Maybe, but he's here saying it's like world wars could knock a population down by 6 to 9%, like World War II. A global military empire like Genghis Khan can knock it down by 11%. A pandemic could be 15 to 60. A lot of talk about
there you go. I mean, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff about Ebola is mentioned in the original report as well. Nuclear war, if you believe in all that kind of stuff, and economic collapse as well can lead to about 30%, 30 to 85.
Well, that makes sense too with the economic collapse, because we are well due for one worldwide, and I think what Trump's doing is actually the right direction, but I mean, it's like trying to stop the Titanic from hitting the iceberg. It's like, is he doing it fast enough? Is he doing it on time? Is it too late? It's like one of those things. So
exactly,
that's the question, right? Like, hopefully it's a success. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's a success.
I do wonder if maybe he is more of a just giving people last minute hope that isn't really there just before everything does collapse. Maybe it's just one of those keep people going.
It is like the last hour kind of thing, with the economy. That's for sure. I do think he's doing the right thing, though. If anything could work, this seems like it might be one of them that would work. For me, at least in my mind.
Well,
and I do have a business background, but that doesn't mean I could be wrong. Who knows?
I have no idea. I'm not an expert in economics or business whatsoever.
I'm not an expert. I like to study it, and I used to have business. I still have a business, but I have 2 businesses. But I used to do a lot of business online and stuff, and I had software in the chain stores. I used to sell stuff like that, and
Mhm.
you know,
This is
your brother you
interesting.
said is into business too, right?
Well, my brother has been through many businesses. He's always just been that kind of guy. He's just
I was the same kind of guy as him, kind of.
he owns a car dealership now, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
And
That's cool.
he makes his money just
Well,
selling.
he's more of it than maybe even I am, because I don't want to do anything like that.
He's one of those people who, like, he starts a project and then he abandons it halfway through and goes on to the next thing.
Oh, that's not good for business. That's
But
not a good way to do it.
when it comes to, like, he obsesses over things, and then if he really he's actually becoming a pilot now. He's stuck with that to the end. He does many things all the time, and I remember one time he started selling e-cigarettes, and he got a supplier from China, and it was just ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous, but he did it for a short while and then moved on to something else, and and now he sells cars and he's successful at that, and it's just whatever, you know.
He's gonna fly planes too, you said?
Yeah, he's getting his pilot's license. Yeah,
it sounds like he's probably a pretty smart guy. One of my friends, he's like a pilot and an engineer.
Yeah,
but he's got this problem of never staying with a job. My friend, I don't know what it is. He just can't stay with a job. It's so annoying.
I don't know this, if we never got him tested, but I'm wondering if my brother's got like some kind of tism, like, or something, you know. He's just got that kind of mind that can do these things but struggles to focus. You know what I mean? But at the same time, when he does focus, he does it really well. Like, and with this flying thing, like I said, he just understands it.
Sure.
It's that kind of thing. But moving back to the topic, this video you sent me, we were talking earlier that they may have moved back to the villages. This is a guy talking about how his village is empty. Like,
yeah, it's so weird. That's another thing that people are saying too, is that, like, where are they? So that guy's saying in the village there's nobody.
yeah, it says,
That's
look,
weird.
empty houses. There's no old people, no children. Everything's
It
closed.
is kind of a weird. I thought it was an interesting little conspiracy myself. I thought there's got to be something here. You know, it can't be just nothing.
It's odd. It's odd, isn't it? No, it is odd. You're right. And obviously,
it is 2020. There was some more going on in 2020 that we didn't realize. Maybe there was more people that died than we realized too.
That's what I was thinking, because obviously masks here and everything like that. It all seems to.
I remember covering it back then, and that their morgues were all filled, and they had way too many bodies. I remember that, but that was a long time ago. That was 5 years ago now, almost 4 or 5 years ago.
It's possible that could have been an excuse for more of a Depop type of situation. I don't know. Like, just convenient timing that, well, we have this pandemic happening at the same time. You know, it's like kind of to explain it away. I wonder if there's any Christian wildcards out there saying it was the Chinese who got raptured and we've all been left behind. Like,
well, I told you there's this prophecy about a reverse. I didn't mention this, but there's this prophecy about a reverse rapture, where the bad people are taken. And this is kind of a weird one, but I think there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff happening this year, because some of these prophets have been predicting there was something that was going to happen between April 1st and May 1st. And they said the spirit of Pythos will be destroyed. And that's when the Pope died. And of course, the Vatican, the word Vatican literally means a seer or prophet of potentially a serpent. And it refers to a serpent hill. And of course, the only building they've built in the Vatican in the last 50 years was the audience hall, which looks like a snake. So some are saying, well, maybe it's referring to the Pope's death, and that he's the first one, and there's going to be a lot more weird stuff happening this year. People disappearing, and maybe this China's related to that. I don't know. So there's another conspiracy rabbit trail for you.
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't hold
another one now.
I don't hold much weight on the words of modern prophets myself personally. I think the last prophet.
I only follow the ones that they get things right. If they get it right like a couple times, I'm like, oh, maybe this guy's got something going on here. I don't want to listen to what he has to say.
To be a prophet, they've got to get it right every time. Okay,
well,
that's what
I'm saying. I'm saying some of these guys get it right every time, from what I can tell. There's people who will nitpick though. I'm like, oh, he got this one thing wrong this one time. And I've looked at videos like that, and I feel like they're really nitpicking, and I feel like there's a difference between hearing God and not saying it correctly, and just not hearing God at all and just lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm open to people hearing God and getting personal revelation from God still, and all that type of stuff. I think there's a line crossed me. It's like, I'm a prophet of God. God can speak to us and tell us things, absolutely, right. But don't put yourself out there, because you could be wrong. Because often I think we're just too fallible. We'll just put our own opinion in there with God's message, and we end up,
it's that kind
of thing.
Easy. That's very easy to do that. for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we may have exhausted the China thing. Who knows what's really going on there? But we need to watch that because something's happened with the population, and I am wondering. One thing I do want to kind of mention, we kind of touched it briefly there. This Deagle report thing is kind of worrying. Like, we're in 2025. We're here now. If this is like just some kind of psyop, like they're trying to like freak us out, it's working, I would say. Or what if, because 2025 is a big year for the occult. This is when the world teacher's supposed to appear from Helena Blavatsky's work, and
well, what about this Antichrist figure? Because I thought there's something going on. I feel like I think the devil's trying to bring in his age. I don't know if you follow Timothy Alberino too.
I'm aware of him. Yeah.
I've talked about how we had all these signs in the stars, Revelation 12 sign, and all these signs in the stars over the last so many years. And last year we had the arm of Orion was eclipsed by an asteroid, which showed the power of Orion, which Orion is Gilgamesh, being eclipsed. And so I believe that we're entering into a good age, but the devil wants another age. Okay. So like the millennial kingdom, right? You talked about this a lot. I think that was 1,000 years. I think there's this thing called Onas, 500-year Onas, and we had 1,000-year Ona in the Middle Ages. And then we've been in a 500-year for a long time, 500-year Ona of the Red Dragon. So I don't know if you've heard me say this stuff before, but the book of Esther talks about 500 BC, right? In 500 BC, it went from the red dragon, 1000 BC to 500 BC was a red dragon, 500 BC to 0 AD was a white dragon or god. And then 0 AD to 500 AD was the red dragon. And it says in scripture, the god of this age or the god of this world is the devil. So that was the red dragon, 0 to 500. That's why there was so much persecution. 500 AD to 1500 AD was the Middle Ages, which was two white ages or two white dragon ages. Now we've been in the red dragon from King Henry VII until last year, I believe. And then now we're entering into the white dragon's age. But the devil wants another age, like you're saying. So he was trying to move from the age of Horus or the age of the child to the age of Themis. He wanted social justice. That's what, the Statue of Liberty, Libertas, right? That's what the devil wanted. He wanted 2 ages like God had 2 ages. He wanted 1,000 years of his own. But we're in the short time, the little season, right? I think so we've been in the little season. We're at the end of it now. And we're entering into the new golden age, as Trump calls it. But I'm not saying that's what it is. But age of Goshen, it may be a better way to put it. And so the devil's going to do everything. He's going to be, he's up at, his back is against the wall. Is he going to pull the bad option? Is he going to try to do some really big thing like you're talking about where something really bad happens? And I could see that because we saw it during the time of King Arthur. So shortly after they moved from the red dragon to the white dragon, because Merlin had a dream about 2 dragons fighting, a white dragon and a red dragon. Yeah. You know about the story, right?
I've heard Noel Hadley talk about this red dragon, white dragon thing before on his channel. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So the white dragon was the Saxons and the red dragon was Wales.
Yeah.
And it set up 1,000-year age, right? So, but shortly after they moved into the white dragon age, they had a super volcano go off and it was the worst year ever. I think 536.
536, that's right. Yeah.
So could we have our own 536 coming up?
Well, I would be more inclined to believe if it is the short season situation from Revelation 20 to 21.
World War III or something?
What we go into now is something terrible will happen that's going to turn a lot of people against a common enemy, which we'll make war with, which has to be the camp of saints or the beloved city, whatever that is, whether that's Jerusalem or New Jerusalem from heaven or some place on the earth that gets discovered where there's people, advanced civilization. We'll call them something. I don't know what's going on, saints or something's going to happen, but we're all going to, the most of the earth is going to agree that's our enemy and we're going to go fight them. And,
I think so that kind of ties into like the alien thing because they wanted to bring that out too this year.
Yes.
I don't know if you've looked into that. So 2025 was the year when they're supposed to be like the aliens are supposed to be, among us or something.
Something like that. Yeah, well, I think the alien agenda is a big part of the little season. This is kind of my working theory. It's just a working theory, but we've all been programmed for like over 100 years with alien propaganda to believe in space, aliens. They're going to turn up. Humanity's going to push them back. We're going to galvanize together, become one united civilization, and win the war against the evil invading aliens. And then we're going to go into a new advanced age of technology, back engineered from the alien spacecrafts or something. I don't know, something like that. Every film you've ever watched about aliens.
But it could fit into the other thing you said, though. It could fit in, like, what if it was like one alien race is attacking the world and all the humans unite against that alien race? Then another alien race says, tries to help us out.
Oh yeah, that too.
Fight these other aliens.
That too.
And then says the real enemies are the followers of Yahweh or something like that.
Yeah, well, something like that. It could be like, these Christians are holding you back. So the Camp of Saints gets surrounded. It's kind of like, if you want to advance to join the Galactic Federation with us, you need to leave behind these primitive belief systems and take control of your own evolution through this technology or something like that. And then all the Earth will look at the Christians who are saying, no, that's like the mark of the beast. I'm not taking that. And they'll look at us and go, let's kill him. They're holding us back. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, but then also I think, okay, I don't know when New Jerusalem's supposed to descend from heaven. And it could be after the war or before, maybe it becomes visible slightly before this final war. But something descending from heaven that's a giant floating city, we've all been programmed to think mothership. We've all been programmed to see it as aliens from space. Like, we have no other, most people don't have anything else in here they can interpret it with. It's aliens or nothing. What else could it possibly be?
Well, because we've been programmed to
exactly,
think that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that could be an agenda they'll play on us, and then they'll, like I said, they'll release the bad alien greys and flying saucers from the underground military bases that'll destroy everything, and we'll think.
Well, they say there is a new video out about someone who worked, I think it was with Obama, saying that there's these massive underground bases and stuff. I mean, the whole thing is like, you're talking God's agenda and the devil's agenda.
Yeah.
And you have the devil's timeline and God's timeline. And God wants to bring his timeline into fruition here. And the devil wants his timelines, but his back is against the wall because he's already losing. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen? I feel like it's going to end up being God's timeline, but the devil is going to do some nasty stuff. So that's kind of, I don't know. We know the devil's plans though, because like we're talking about it right now, kind of like it's kind of like floating theories, because a little bit they've said this, they've said that. You don't know which way they're going to go with it.
Exactly. They've got hundreds of like game plans they could just let off it. They have an A to Z of end plans, you know what I mean? That they're going to, whatever the people will believe is what they'll play, whatever will work in their favor the most, they think they'll play. Or the hand could get forced by God. God could do something, and it's kind of like, we've got to do something now anyway, and we'll just pick plan Y, let's just go, you know? It's kind of, who knows how it's going to play out necessarily, but I
think you're right.
In terms of these ages of 500-year periods where there was the two white dragons and now we're in the time of the red dragon, I think it's the last time. And I think what comes after this final destructive event is the new heaven and earth, the final great white throne judgment, and the fulfilling of all prophecy in the promise that those in Christ will be resurrected. The rest of the dead will get to live as they should be, with perfected bodies again in the new heaven and earth, free from Nephilim, demonic corruption, and these evil control systems. You know, the earth will be made whole again as it was in Eden, all that kind of stuff. That's so really, it's coming next. It's good. What's coming next? It's a good thing. It's not doom and gloom.
But we still got to go through some stuff.
We got to go through some stuff, and that's not much different from tribulation eschatology, because we got to go through some stuff to get to the millennial reign. We're just saying, well, those people went through that stuff. They got to go through the millennial reign. Now we've got to go through some stuff so we can get to the kingdom, like the eternal kingdom. You know what I mean?
And it makes sense that the devil would use this strategy for deception, because they're both similar.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to do it that way. Because even if you look at the Hebrew AM3 calendar, which they call the AM calendar today, it says we only have like 100 and some years before 6,000 years have happened. Yeah. Which would be perfect timing. You see what I mean? So like, we're actually around 7,500 right now, I think, according to the original AM1 calendar that, Flavius Josephus used. Who knows? So we're already 1,500 years after, or 500 years after the millennial kingdom, according to that. But
who knows? Honestly, with the timeline, it's so complicated. Like, we've been lied to so much, which is why all we can do is just keep our wits about us, know all the possibilities loosely, get your own house in order, get right with God, get your family safe and in order, and just live life. Don't live in fear, because as long as you're covered by the blood of Christ, you're saved in the end of all this anyway. It's not something to be scared of. The dragon's going to have his final flail in the corner like an animal because he knows his time is short, and yeah, you might get whipped by his tail in the process, but whatever, he's done, it's over, get over it. This is not all that there is anyway. New heaven and earth around the corner. So there is I think for Christians, really, there's hope in all of this. But I think the rest of the world who aren't Christian, they're going to be terrified. Men's hearts are going to fail them for fear, It's going to be nuts. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crazy.
The Book of Enoch and also the Sibylline Oracles talk about the heavens changing. So we've been told our entire life space is a certain way, and it's really far. We don't know exactly what space is, right? So if you start seeing things in the skies moving, you're going to be like, "What the hell's happening here?" Right? That will freak out a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Like so suddenly the stars. What if the stars just suddenly started swirling around?
Yeah, that would be really mess with people's heads.
Yeah, all the angels, which is what stars are told you can leave now. You can leave your space where you're supposed to be. And
I'm not sure how it all works out.
That would be freaky,
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
I can see something like that happening soon. I don't know. Or maybe like we're told the whole sky tore open during tribulation, like a veil, and we have a giant scar we call the Milky Way up there, which is like a giant tear of some kind.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
But what if like the sky we're looking at isn't the sky that we actually have today? What if we're looking at like a projection, a false sky that's been given to us, and that's why they keep spraying?
I can't fly up there to look, so I don't know, man.
But what if they're spraying to maintain it? And it's like a holographic projection in some way.
Oh, you're saying, okay. You're saying like with the stuff in the
and then what if one day it just disappears? The LCD screen they put up there vanishes, and we see the sky for what it really is, and it's not what we. It's just nuts. It's just crazy. It's crazy stuff. You know what I mean? It's like psychedelic, unbelievable, heavenly realm stuff. Like, and the whole world would freak out. They would just lose they'd lose it. They'd lose their minds. They wouldn't be able to comprehend, and they die. They just die from fear. I reckon people would have heart attacks and drop dead.
I've heard of people dying from a lot less. I heard about some old guy seeing a advertisement with a woman loosely clothed or didn't have and he was like an old guy that I never saw that, and he actually had a heart attack while driving. It's like,
well, yes. I don't know, but
you probably can't see that today because it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
I'm just trying to think in terms of this report. Okay, so it's 2025. Populations are just going to drop dramatically. There's another theory. The thing everybody put it into their bodies a few years ago because they were coerced into it. We're going to see the effects of that down the pipeline, and en masse. People are just
it could very well be the case. I've heard some strange things. I've heard some strange things in that realm. But hey, man, I gotta go because I gotta do some other stuff.
Sure.
But I think we talked for an hour almost, didn't we? Or I don't know how long we talked.
Long enough. You stayed. Yeah. You're a hero. Thanks for doing this, Tony. I appreciate it. Like I said, if anyone wants to follow it, it's God Rules or Sons of Thunder, and I think Sail Daddy as well. Do you still go by that one?
Sail Daddy 1,
Sail Daddy 1,
2, or Sons of Thunder and God Rules,
Yeah, so this guy's been an OG in the conspiracy realm. He's been here for a while. He's a semi-regular guest on the channel. He's been around for 10 years. I think
you've been around for a long time too, man. You're not new. You're not new either. When did you come in? You came in.
I started in 2014. That's when I started.
Yeah, that's pretty early. That's pretty early, man.
Yeah, but I was watching you.
You're pretty much OG also.
I forget how old I am.
There's not very many people left from back then, man. They're all gone. A lot of people.
No, well, like I said, a lot of them have abandoned me because of the whole Millennial Kingdoms theorizing, but whatever, it is what it is.
Oh, well, I'm sure I've had a lot of people abandon me for whatever reason.
It is what it is. But thanks for sticking around anyway. And again, just go check out Tony's channel, and also you are working on a video game right now, which is very exciting stuff, isn't it? But maybe we'll talk about that in a separate show, and I'll let you lay all that out for my audience because
sure, man.
Really exciting, cool. Really exciting stuff. But I know you got to get going. Thanks for being here, man. Take it easy.
All right, yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for letting me be on.
No problem. Let me just quickly jump back into this with you guys. There we go. Yes, there we go. Tony from God Rules channel. Link is in the description. I have tagged his channel in the name of this video on YouTube. Just type in God Rules on the search bar. You can't miss the guy's channel. He's got about 498,000 subscribers or something. He's been in the game longer than I have, a regular on the channel. Always a good conversation. It brings a fresh perspective and catches me up sometimes with just what's going on in the world. Very much the current thing happening right now type of content, which is actually very useful because I fall behind. So go and check his work out if you haven't already. But yeah, guys, I'm here now for a little bit. I'm just going to take a quick break And then I'll stick around for maybe an extra, I don't know, 15 something minutes. So I'll have a bit of a back and forth, a bit of a Q&A. But I do want to play for you guys during this break a song that was sent to me by somebody called Stephanie. Now, she wrote this poem and she hired or had a friend of hers sing this for her and make the song you're about to listen to. So she wrote the lyrics and the song, but somebody else performed it on her behalf. And this is what you're about to listen to. This is her song, and it's about the fallen angels at Mount Hermon. I will just get some more details up, specifically about what she explained, just so we can have a bit of a backstory to what you're about to listen to. Let me just quickly find it here. Music. I have so many emails. Everything just gets absolutely lost and buried in an absolute mess, an unorganized mess. So I'm trying my best to find it here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a good song. It's well put together. Like I said, Stephanie wrote it. Somebody else from the Isle of Man, I think she said, recorded it for her, and she's been kind enough to send me a copy. And I'm going to play that out for you guys now while I have a quick break. But I'm also going to play a background images of just random Millennial Kingdom buildings and stuff like that. Just so you got something to watch while you're doing this. It's not related, but it's something for the eyes, isn't it? So here we go, guys. I'm going to take a quick break. Apologies for the no sound, guys. It seems like there's been some kind of glitch with OBS here. I'm going to do a quick workaround to get the sound playing now. If you're listening to this on podcast format, you won't hear any of this gap. It'll just go seamlessly straight to the music. But for you listening live, you've got to deal with the technical issues, so suck it up. Now, give me a second. I'll just play the song straight through Media Player instead, and you can enjoy it that way. So bear with me, guys. The song should play in...
Stood upon Mount Hermon, 200 in all, watching with keen interest, preparing for a fall. And God, he called them watchers, advocates of his creation, but lust and envy filled their hearts and they left their habitation. They looked upon mankind as they watched them grow. Their leader named Samjaza said, let us swear an oath, a pact against the Most High God, its consequences dire. Let us choose wives of mortal men and teach them to inquire. Azazel taught them weapons made of metals refined. Sanjaza and Amoros, spells of every kind. They taught mankind astrology, signs in heaven and earth. Impiety grew rapidly, and soon the women gave birth to giants of great stature, sons of iniquity. They sinned against both man and beast and caused them all to flee. The angels found a righteous man, a holy scribe well known. They asked him to intercede before God's holy throne. Enoch go before the Lord and take him my petition, ask him to have mercy and save us from perdition. Enoch stood before the Lord and fell down to his knees. The Lord said, tell the watchers that they shall have no peace. They to the watchers, I know the things you do. You were made to intercede for men and not meant for you. One man's cry reached to heaven right before God's holy place. Humanity was corrupt, but that one man found grace. Though God would need to cleanse the earth through the means of a great flood, he also required a lineage forged by holy blood. Noah built an ark, God said there's no room for exemption. You shall replenish the earth, for this is my intention. Noah listened and prepared, and when all things were done, evil found its place once more in the heart of Noah's son. Satan found a foothold, at least that's how it seemed. While God raised up his prophets, mankind would be redeemed. Souls of men of every tribe and nation, a plan in place to save us all, devised before creation. He will bruise your head and you shall bruise his heel. A war between two different seeds, but only one is real. The scales are tipped just slightly, demanding the ransom be met. Jesus took our punishment, erasing every debt. A story that transcends time and cannot be diminished. Our sins rested upon him, and then he said it's finished. The cosmic war ensures today. We live in a world of lies, walking through the darkness, devoid of our spiritual eyes. God tells the story of who we are in the pages of history. Our kingdom isn't of this world, it's of eternity. So throw off your shackles, open up your eyes, arise up, wide awake. Tell me, whose side will you take? 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 Tell me, whose side will you take?
Whose side will you take, guys? So there we go. That was nice, wasn't it? Yeah, so people have just started sending me their music everywhere. Like an email. It's like, play this, Paul, play this, go on, play this for me, play this. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Being the accommodating guy that I am, I'm just taking it all and saying, go on, guys, listen. Some of you might hate it, some of you might love it. Everyone's got different eclectic tastes when it comes to music, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm giving everybody a chance. So if you have some music that you've created, preferably something, biblically based in some way or about the truth or conspiracy related, send it my way and I'll play it to an audience for you guys. And send me any links you want to send and I'll put them in the description so they can go find more of your work. I don't believe Stephanie, who made that poem, has anything. She just has that music file that she created and got her friend created for her, and I've just shared it with you guys as well. So that's an exclusive. You won't hear that anywhere else but here, I believe. But there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that song. I thought it was quite good and an excellent summary of Mount Hermon and what the Watchers did to us, indeed. Right, guys. So I'm back. You've got me for a little bit. Get some questions in. Is there anything you want to ask, anything you want to talk about, any topics you want to discuss, and anything at all? Pearl did ask one about the sun, and she said, Paul, do you think they could be limiting our sun because God is using the sun for our growth in some way? You know what, Pearl? Maybe. I think we do need the sun. I think plants need the sun. I think humans are biological creatures not dissimilar from plants. He said he made us from the earth, from the dirt of the earth, from the clay. We ourselves are very much earthly creations, and I think as creatures of the earth, bodily speaking, obviously our spirit's not of this earth, but I think the breath of life that runs through this particular vessel that we're in, this body, needs the sun. I think we need it to survive. I think we need it to grow, to be healthy and sane as well in many ways. I think the sun's one of those magical things that we don't fully understand just how it helps us, but it's certainly necessary in our lives, much like sleeping. Like if you don't sleep, you lose your mind. You literally mind fractures and you die eventually, and we don't know why. And it's kind of like, why do we need to, like, sleeping itself, like, and dreaming and stuff like that? And it's certainly necessary in ways we don't fully understand, and it's kind of, if you don't get sun for long enough, you're gonna die. I think that much is clear. So there's definitely issues with blocking the sun, that's for sure. I think it's very much of God's creation. It's a part of God's creation, a wholly necessary part of God's creation too. There's some weird Gnostic thoughts out there that the sun is actually evil, or the sun is like Lucifer in some way, the morning star, or the sun is a construct or a false thing that shouldn't actually be there. People saying there's now a false sun out there that's replacing the real sun, or in front of the real sun, so we're getting the false light rather than the real light of God. I've heard many ideas and concepts around what's going on with the sun, and I don't have any definitive answers on that. One anecdote I hear repeatedly is that a lot of people, when they were growing up, remember the sun being orange and the light being warm. And today it's not. The light is white, and it's a colder, more blue light than it used to be. More of a what would you call it? A saturated type of light, a more orangey light. And I don't know if I remember that as a kid because I was born in the 90s, but I only have the word to go off, but I'm inclined to believe people when they say something like that, because why would they lie? What have they got to lie about, And you can say, oh, their memories are deceiving them, but when you get so many people saying it consistently, it's kind of, okay, so maybe there's something there. So I'm kind of open to the idea that our sun may have been replaced in some way, and the sun we're getting burns us and is bad for us and causes cancer and is quite literally killing us rather than feeding us and rejuvenating us and giving us what we need. It could be that too. So I don't know. I don't know if it really is about blocking out the sun personally, or this operation that's going on. Maybe that's just the excuse they're giving us to get away with doing it because, global warming and stuff. But I think reality, I think that technology has been used for something else. And I don't think it's to kill us all either. I think it could be to project or maintain an illusion perhaps in the sky, or to hide something else that's up there that we should normally otherwise be looking at. Or it's I don't know. It's maybe simply just to control the weather. Very simply. Nothing to do with blocking out the sun necessarily, but it's to manipulate and control the movements of the tides and the winds and everything else involved, and to play God in that respect, Who knows? From the sayings of our Creator, there is Israelites who betray. Okay, I'm not going to go into this. I have sound. Good people could hear me. I'm sorry for the sound problems, guys. Like I said, I'll cut that bit out in the audio only in the podcast Spotify video, so none of those mistakes will appear. Cindy loved the song. Excellent. God made the real sun, so the idea of a fake sun or a builder replacing it doesn't match the Bible or Christian teaching. Jesus is the true light, says Faith and Tradition, the Catechism channel. Yes, you have definitely been making it very clear that you love your Catholic Church and are 100% fully aligned with all the teachings of the men of that church throughout the history. Absolutely. You have abundantly made that clear to me, and it seems like you've made it to the live show to keep telling me the same thing as well. Okay, welcome to a Christian Contrarian Conspiracy channel. Is it your first time? I kid. Thanks for being here anyway. I say these things in jest and in love. I know you're definitely passionate about what you believe in, that's for sure. What else have we got here? Pearl, could be because I moved to Florida from Seattle. Yeah. Want to live in a mushroom under a giant tree? Well, who doesn't, It's because we remember curling it in with yellow crayons, says Jonathan. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't get my white crayons out to draw the sun these days. My son certainly doesn't. He still grabs yellow and orange. The sun has a white artificial light now, says Holistic Kate. Yeah, I hear a lot of that. I hear it a lot. It's a very common thing I've heard said. Therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through him we have obtained access by faith into his grace in which we stand. Amen to that. The sun is plasma charged positively and the moon negatively, says Ali. Yeah, well, yeah, the interesting thing about light, obviously, and people, if you don't know this, might be new information to you. It's certainly not new to probably most people listening, but the moonlight is cold. It's actually colder in the moonlight than it is in the shade from the moonlight at nighttime. So if you're out walking about in the moonlight, get into the shade of a tree and you'll be warmer. You'll actually feel warmer, because the light emitted by the moon is cold. It's actually physically cold. That's interesting. People have done tests with like thermometers and stuff. That's madness. When you think about it, it's quite literally diametrically opposite to the light that the sun gives off, which is warm, like in every respect. Very fascinating. 70s, 80s child here, says Madpax. It was yellow, 100%. Well, the problem, it's done. Madpax has said it was so. Move on. We've solved the problem of the sun. It's been changed. There we go. Look at the sun in September. It'll be more red. Yeah, I know, that's true. Having so much trouble with family members, says Amy. Well, Amy, do you want to share? Should we do a bit of therapy before we leave? Let me know what's going on with their family there, and I'll see if I can offer any advice or support for you. And obviously we'll be praying for you as well. The firmament is a giant floating ball of pressurized water that houses and cools a divine engine that powers the sun and moves the stars, says Pat Sun. I believe you're talking about the concave Earth model. I'm very well acquainted with that model. I was there when it was first being talked about by Stephen Christopher, who proclaimed himself to be the Christ returned. Absolute narcissistic psychopath who clearly should not have been involved in that model whatsoever. And if that model is true, he's certainly destroyed its image through his personality and character, that's for sure. But still an interesting model. I'm going to separate it from the man. The model was fascinating and a good alternative for those who haven't heard about different biblical cosmological systems. But I believe the Earth is an enclosed system. Many have the flat model with a dome over the top, which is more what I lean towards. But there is one which is called the concave Earth. If you haven't heard of that before, go and check that one out. It's interesting. Certainly an interesting take on the whole thing. But yes, I'm very well aware of that. You don't have to try and sell that here, Patson. You do not have to try and sell that here. And obviously, may Stephen Christopher rest in peace. I may not have agreed with the guy's style, but I hope he found the real Christ before he died, unfortunately. You should give Destiny Lab Ezekiel's Wheel a listen to, says Crappy Names Left. I don't have time to look into new music these days, but I'll try and remember that. Destiny Lab Ezekiel's Wheel, and I'll give it a listen. Is there any truth to William Wallace? I have no idea who William Wallace is. That's a random... Don't assume I know what you're talking about. I need more than just a name. Sorry, I don't know how to answer that. Is there any truth to William Wallace? Well, he's a human, so I assume he's said some true things in his time, I assume. I don't know, though. Van, you gave us your email. I emailed you, but no response. Says Amy. I'm sorry if you have emailed me. I am. Let me find here. Honestly, Amy, I get a lot of emails, so I do. Things get buried. Thank you and a question. Is it that one? I don't know if it's that one about eating pork. Here it is. Can I direct you to a video to best explain the little season theory? They're struggling to grasp it, and they've got questions about what happened outside of Europe and the Middle East during the millennial reign, such as China, Japan, Asia, India. Well, I think there were many places around during the millennial reign that did not conform to Christ's kingdom and stayed separate from his kingdom, and they suffered consequences for doing that. But I also think there were many, many people of all races, nationalities who migrated to his kingdom and places where his kingdom wasn't active, away from those in rebellion. They don't call China the land of the dragon still to this day for nothing, you know. And I think in answer to your daughter about what was going on during that time and why it's highly Eurocentric, I think it's because that's where the hub of it all was, and that's where the kingdom was established, and where the vassal feudal system was created of lords and knights below and all that type of thing. True medieval stuff, you know, with Jesus Christ heading up the whole thing at the very top of the system. There were countries around who were on board as kind of vassal states to that situation, who may have clung to their old gods, but still had to get along with the new pecking order, which is Christ at the helm, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. There were many civilizations who were in rebellion against him, whose lands were turned to deserts because they had no rain, because they refused to bow down to the Son of God. I think people are confused that the millennial reign wasn't a time of 100% perfection where everybody was all happy, kumbaya, lovey-dovey. That's kind of like more like the new heaven and earth, which is still to come. So I think all these other countries with many strange gods still existed during the millennial reign, personally. But I also think like many of those citizens of those previous cultures would have left and moved, or been within the kingdom, within those countries, still surrounded by those who were refusing to bow down, you know. And I think it would have been he ruled with an iron rod, so it's possible those who chose Christ and went with Christ were untouchable, even living in these places where they're still clinging to their old systems and gods, refusing to bow down. So maybe there's a bit of a loose answer for you, but I know it's tough trying to explain this to family, especially when maybe they're quite sarcastic and they've already dubbed you as insane and crazy and are tarring you with such a horrible broad brush. So I apologize, Amy. It's easy for me to give these kind of advices and answers in person via voice, to be honest. Writing these things out can get a bit convoluted and difficult sometimes and time consuming. But I hope that helps in some minor way. I hope it helps, but I know it's a struggle, and you have to realize people aren't going to listen to you just because what you have to say is the truth. They have to already have wanted to know. They have to have made the choice to listen before they actually take anything in. And I mean sincerely, a lot of even family members, but even people who ask questions aren't being sincere when they ask for more information. They're actually just trying to trap you or trying to find stuff to make you sound stupid. And they're actually prodding you for information so they can ridicule what you're about to say next. Not every question is sincere when they ask you what you believe. You have to learn to discern the difference. And if they're not coming at you with love or sincerity, just dust off your heels and move on. That's what I'd have to say. And Ali, this is nothing personal. I'm just going to put you in a timeout because you are seriously spamming the chat. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. You seem to be relentlessly spamming. This is not the place for that. But you can come back next time. You're not banned or anything. You're just in a timeout, that's all. Matrix Unraveled. I've been wondering something like that lately. I don't know what I missed there. Scripture tells us the luminaries are angels and living beings. They sing praises to Abba. When we zoom in, we're seeing their frequencies and songs to Father, says Wendy. Yeah, that's what I tend to believe that too. Yeah, stars are angels. That's biblically sound. Absolutely. They're part of the creation. Angels are intrinsically linked with the creation itself, and people don't realize that. And that's a whole other thing I've talked about before on the channel, and maybe I have to talk about it again. I don't think people realize just how important angels are for creation. Like, they aren't the creators. They're not gods in their own sense. God created them for a purpose as a cog in the machine of creation. That's what an angel is. And yeah, they are. When the third of the angels rebelled and left the first estates, it broke the creation. That's basically the problem there that I've come up with, that I've kind of realized and seen, and I think it's biblically sound. So there we go. On that note, maybe that's probably a good time to end this, guys. I've been going for over 2 hours now, that's for sure. I hope you enjoyed this talk. It was good having Tony on from God Rules. I like catching up with the guy. Like I said, we've been in the game for years. We catch up with each other every now and then. And I'm thankfully hopped on to kind of share more of what he talks about on his channel and the things he kind of gets into with the whole China's population going down. It was nice to cover the whole depopulation agendas and ideas around that and things kind of at play and thought processes, and obviously the Georgia Guidestones. They literally put this plan in stone, so we better pay attention, They put it in stone in like 16 languages that they're going to bring the population down to 500 million. So, with that Deagle report mixed in with all of this, it's getting pretty weird. And it's 2025 around the corner. I personally, the only way I can see that report becoming fulfilled is if there's a sudden mass drop off of life due to what happened in 2020. And the things people put into their bodies. That's all I can really, really, really think is any way where we'd see a sudden just drop, unexplainable, in populations. And it's not just because of collapse in birth rates or the older generations just suddenly die off and then there's nothing left. And then I think some of that might be a part of it because we have had those reproduction problems, especially in the Western Hemisphere and the Anglosphere. But I think something like that, like what I mentioned earlier, is probably more likely the case. That's just my idea. I don't know for sure. Just pray all things in God, and again, there's no fear. At the end of the day, you can be healed. No weapon formed against you shall prosper as long as you have faith and believe, and I completely believe that. But I think there'll be many people who may succumb to such things due to lack of faith and due to fear and the rest of it. And it's sad, it's shocking. I did give a warning at the start of this that the things we're going to talk about today are depressing. and these are not for the faint of hearts or anything like that, and I hope I gave sufficient warning enough beforehand. And I apologize if anybody's been affected by the things discussed today as well. I am. So to end this show, guys, maybe I'll play another song. I think I might play one of my own songs. It's been a while since I played one of my own songs. I'm going to play New Age Hippie just for fun. Why not, just a bit of music to ring this show out. Always end with a song. Connor, you need to send me some of your music, by the way, that I can play out at the end of here as well, just to get it out there and to share it. But I'm going to play New Age Hippie. This is a song I wrote just when I was becoming a Christian, coming out of the New Age realm, maybe 8 to 9 years ago, maybe a bit more. And it's just me. I'm just jamming and I'm just singing. And it's about realizing that the New Age agenda and the New Age teachings are just a load of nonsense, and the truth is only in Christ. So enjoy this, guys. I'm going to ring this one out, and I'll see you in the next show. And as always, God bless. Amen, everyone, and God bless.